Comics!
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. We really should have a remix, but I ain't got no money to pay anybody for it. So, but if anybody out there wants to actually do a remix of the Comic Book Chronicles theme song, actually, I don't know who the appropriate people to hook to get you hooked up to, because I'm not them. But I am your host, Roddykat, and welcome to the first day of San Diego Comic-Con.
Yay!
And yes, indeed, you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and pretty much anywhere else for that doggone matter. The brand is strong, folks. That's somebody else. And you can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram and News Nerds Need Reddit. With me tonight is the man behind the soundboards, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? And also, I was half expecting you to yell out, DJ Roddykat! You're the best!
I stopped myself a second before doing something similar to that.
Oh.
And I didn't have an air horn ready anyway, so it doesn't matter. But hey, maybe next week, because we'll be in full blossom by that time. There you go. No, you could have handled that for me. Anyway, not with us tonight is PC_Dirt that you can find there on Twitter. You can also find them at popculturenetwork.com and popculturenet on Twitter. Also, actually, and all his umbrella stuff's underneath that. And also, not with us tonight, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. The Click Nation on Twitter, theclicknation.com. That's TheKlickNation. CB Cron on Twitter. And of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off now more than ever because of San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, be on the lookout for his coverage all week and weekend long.
Indeed, yeah. He even was covering some stuff I didn't expect from him. But then I know that you got to wear many hats when you're in that kind of field.
Right.
One of those days I wish that I had been and done that. But nonetheless, we are proud of him, and hopefully one of these days we can get him on, talk about his experiences, because he's also, helping raise his fams. So busy man.
Yep.
You can find this here podcast on cspn.us. Go over there to that website. Exactly. Do it today. You'll be joining us soon. All that kind of good mess. You can also find us over on Google Play and Apple iTunes. I'm doing this right off the top of my head. I'm trying to do that. This is weird. Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, the Coast of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. No rappers over there unless one of the other shows got some rapping on it. I don't know. There could be at this point. I don't even know. And
if we do, we'll send you links to their mixtape.
Well, only if it's good, because if it sucks, no. We will send you bad juju, is what we're saying, and not the Destiny 2 weapon. So yes, it is the first official day of San Diego Comic-Con, and boy, has the news been hot and heavy. Not just, well, today, especially because panels are going on and news are coming out of panels. And hey, it's been that kind of a day. So you're going to get a good clip of news later on in the news section. I almost said we should do an audible and do the news first so we can get that out of the way before. But that might call for it another day if it gets that heavy next week, which I kind of doubt because a lot of it will be down.
Right. What's funny is that this week we actually only have a few comics that we both read in common.
Pretty much.
And just as a quick note before we get to our comic book reviews for the week, San Diego is officially like a 4-day plus show,
Right.
because preview night is now Wednesday.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
You're probably not mistaken.
So now we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for San Diego Comic-Con, and it's pretty much the same idea with New York. So, welcome to the days of 4-day comic book conventions that are chock full of stuff spread out over 4+ days.
Excuse me. And realistically, as tends to happen, even with specifically with this and any other big event such as this in New York, news will start trickling out. Well, news will start coming out the week prior to, like we said last week, and start getting heavier as the week goes by. And of course, by the time the official night comes, you're kind of knee deep in it, as we are today, because there's some stuff, comic related and just entertainment in general that happens to fly on by. Yuck. Which I don't have that in the news, so we probably won't, unless we just happen to mention it. It ain't coming up. Such as whatever. Anyway,
we're not going into the danger zone. Oh no!
I have a feeling it would have probably come up. R.I.P. Goose.
Goodness. Talk to me, Goose. I gotta make that a sound effect. Anyway.
And apparently somebody was noting what? If you don't know what we're talking about right now, I don't know what's wrong with you. But we're talking about the trailer for Top Gun Maverick that dropped today as we're recording. Because we knew it was going to get mentioned one way or the other. But somebody noticed the distinct lack of Val Kilmer in the trailer.
Okay.
Which I'm like, look, the old ass Ed Harris and Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. I don't know why I want to call him Hanks. That's terrible oversight.
Yeah.
But both of those, I feel like Tom Cruise is just gonna break out into Mission Impossible. It's all right. You can keep these planes. I got another job. Da-da, da, da-da. Something like that happen. Oh, that would be a good crossover. And it would totally make sense. Anyway, fan fiction, go. Anyhow, but enough about that. We'll get into some more entertainment musings later. For right now, we're going to get into the comics of the week, starting off with the Immortal Hulk number 21. Yes,
it's at the top of many reading lists any week that it comes out, and it's pretty much near the top of mine whenever it's released. Just before we start the review, I wanted to mention that the art on this book is a little different this week. There is a different artist. I think it's a result of Joe Bennett. Yeah, Joe Bennett, I think, is on every 2 issues, and then every 3rd issue is somebody else.
Right.
This time it's Ryan Bodenheim, who does a bang-up job nonetheless.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like, it's noticeably different, but it's still not bad.
And I also wanted to mention that the cover by Alex Ross is pretty impressive. It's got lots of it's General Fortean looking at various moments of Hulk history on multiple computer monitors, and it's just a really beautiful piece of work. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, is it just me, or just that seemed tame by Ross standards? I don't know.
It's not that it's meant to be dramatic. I just think that just the sheer just the things that are being referenced, like the scenes that are being referenced. I just thought it was really, it's not as dramatic as some of the previous covers that he's done for Immortal Hulk, but I was just very impressed by this.
Yeah, I'm not, and that's not saying that it's not a good cover, but yeah, look, just like you said, there's, there's more to it than just what's being shown. But like I said, for Alex Ross, it just seems a little understated, or just stated, not understated. But
and shout out to the those ergonomic ball chairs that everyone's sitting on.
I know, right?
You see the people working at Shadow Base sitting on those ball chairs. So.
Just got to keep on your toes. Got to keep that core.
Yep.
Speaking of, well, not speaking of core, but I meant to ask this earlier. I'm gonna have to see if our erstwhile friend Matt Wang is busy next week. Maybe we could try to get him home, get him on next week to get his musings from the show. But we'll talk about that later. I had to reach out to him.
We shall see.
Yes, but anyway, Immortal Hulk. So yeah, we are basically skipping through two different. Well, not skipping through because that sounds like something else. But we're basically getting a little bit more information on General Fortian and his history with his history with the military and the whole project in itself. We at the same time, he is infiltrating. Is it still the Peak? Because Gamma Flight is based out of Sword's old base, right? Which is the Peak.
No, but I think that station long ago crashed and burned.
Did it?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I thought it was still up as of.
Pretty sure.
Well, you might be right. I don't know. Because I could have sworn.
My understanding is that this is the Alpha Flight space station. That's the caption that's used, and I'm pretty sure that's the current superhero base that's in space.
Sure, but I assume that was like just repurpose the name like they've done in certain instances.
No, I actually think the Peak is gone the way of the dodo.
Okay, because I felt like it was still up, like even after the force field was around Super Empire, but I could be wrong.
No, I think at that point they had already put up Alpha Flight Station.
Okay, sure. But either way, Fortian makes a some would say a leap of faith. It wasn't such much of a leap as much as it was a teleport that they may or may not have had all the variables for, but it went off without a hitch. And he infiltrates the base, taking down various members of Gamma Flight handily before going there and getting the thing that he wanted.
Right, he's on a recovery mission. Spoiler alert.
Yes, for a recently taken husk of a thing, basically getting assets back. You might say. Right.
This is a direct follow-up to the events of the previous issue, where husk. I called it a carapace because that's sort of what it is. It's kind of like the exterior shell.
Tomato. Sure.
But ultimately, that's what Fortian is looking for, and he is, as I rang the spoiler bell, successful, and he is wrecking everyone in his path. Yeah. He does not take prisoners, and as we mentioned in our conversation just before going on, we also get a lot more of Fortian's backstory.
Yes,
filled in during moments of the telling of this tale of Fortian infiltrating Alpha Flight Station. So
every time I see the word Fortian, I think Fortran, and I get shivers.
That's what I think of too. It's funny. I'm not even a programmer, and I see that. Yeah. I think of Fortran.
I mean, granted, I crush Fortran when I take it, but still. Anyway, so that was pretty much the gist of it. But at the end of it, we switched. We talked about this earlier before the show. Also, after he acquires this husk / carapace, whatever, he goes to use it in a certain way, which brings about I think we've decided a pretty equally as striking end page, such as one from a couple of issues back where Biddy was eaten. Granted, that one's pretty much starker, but this one kind of hits a note. But in kind of way, in reading it, or if you reread it, you think, especially once you get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, yeah, you knew this was coming, basically. Which, I think as you might have said earlier, or might have alluded to earlier, it's like, yeah, you kind of didn't see that was going to happen, but you kind of could. Mm-hmm. Especially, like I said, once you get to a certain point, especially when 14 was talking to the Thunderbolt,
right?
Back, I was like, okay, well, what's going to happen after that? Now, yeah, we didn't think, you didn't think it was like he's not going to do that, but he did. So, which kind of brings up other things, like it's always that old adage of being the monster that you didn't want, that you're fighting, and which is a thing that has come up a lot in Hulk history. with Banner himself and the people fighting with him. As we know, General Ross has, ended up being the Red Hulk, to fight against the Hulk. And I think we get an explanation because of this flashback here or his reasoning as to why he did it in some roundabout way.
Right. And also the reason why he cannot continue to do it.
Exactly. So, which makes sense because he finally got to that realization, which was past time. But then again, his fate being what it was after that, Although we still don't know if that's going to stick or not, because I think he's probably one of the few that hasn't really shown back up like that.
Well, I rang the spoiler bell. I'm just going to remind you that his grave is now empty because they showed it.
Yeah, I forgot.
It's been a few issues ago.
Yeah.
It was a few issues ago in this book where Ross's.
Well, it still stands a reason though. They still haven't showed him yet, but regardless of whether.
Right.
So.
Right. He's still, if not among the living, at least not quite among the.
Sure, which means that they're definitely playing for him. And as we see for the page, the letters page, a previously reintroduced person. We didn't know who it was. I guess that's reason enough to know now if you read it. Somebody's back and they're pissed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't read it, so I have to take a look at it.
So basically, the former owner of that, or the former inhabitant of that abomination shell, ripped out of it, I guess, is going to have an appearance next issue and be very, very upset.
Believe it.
Yeah. Which.
All right.
So.
Yeah, this is a potential click of the week for me. I really enjoyed this. Al Ewing is hitting on all cylinders, and the even though it was a fill-in artist, it was still very well done.
Yes, indeed. Next up. Wait, what else did you say? Let me look at what you got here. You mentioned it, and I totally forgot already.
Hulk Invaders. I don't know if you got through Justice League 28.
I did not.
Let's go Silver Black.
Silver for Black. Yeah. You know what? Let's go there first.
Okay.
Silver Black #2. That joint is still trippy. The artwork on that joint is still trippy.
Definitely. In
a good way, but it also lends itself to being slightly hard to suss out in a couple of spots.
It's so what it is, and before it's hard for me to compare it to anything, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are multiple artists that have styles that are sometimes hard to decipher. Not because they're bad at rendering forms of detail, but because they're almost too busy. I throw some of Bacalo's art in there, or Bacalo. I'm not 100% sure how he's pronounced that. I really need to run into him at a con at some point and hear his name pronounced. But
or on the interview, yeah.
Right, but ultimately, I'm reminded somewhat of some of Bacalo's really busy work that is sometimes very hard to decipher.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely understand some of the criticism, but I think that Tradmore, between issues 1 and 2, I think toned down some of the more problematic parts of the art that we saw. Maybe it's as a result of the coloring being maybe a little bit more toned down, or maybe just the poses in itself. Because I thought my biggest issue with the first issue, no pun intended, but was the Silver Surfer's never-ending set of abs. And just the rendition of the character wasn't pleasing to the eye, but I thought that it was toned down a bit, and I found myself able to follow the action in this issue very easily. And so, I was just going to add, I wasn't my disbelief was not suspended. My suspension disbelief wasn't disturbed by the fact that the art was really messy.
Sure. Well, I think as I was going to say, I think that especially with the first issue, and I can't really speak for what the creative team was thinking. That might have been a choice because of what was going on through part of that first issue with him going through the black hole and whatnot. But still, yeah, it's still a valid point. And yeah, and this one because he's kind of through it and going through what he's going through now with Cole, spoiler alert.
Or Null.
No, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because Cole is a barbarian conqueror.
and I've done that more than one time. I was like, God dang it, I know there's an end there, but it's like I keep thinking Cole and the Glaive and all that kind of, And I think that's somebody else. Regardless, Null's been brought up fairly recently, which that was the one thing that kind of made me think, because I was like, wait, he's got his sword. Which, granted, he's the quote unquote god of the symbiote, so I'm sure that sword is like, made of him, whatever the case may be. But we've seen that sword somewhere else fairly recently,
right?
In the War of the Realms. But like I said, that's that matters very little. It's just a matter of it's just like, weird. But that whole fight and everything that happens in this issue, like, yeah, it wasn't that terribly hard to suss out. It's just like there was like one or two spots where just things kind of tend to blend a little bit. I will say that the art would make for a damn good Funkadelic art album cover. Although I think I said in my notes, oh yeah, what did I say? I said something about Purple Haze or Dark Side of the Moon should be listened to while reading this. I don't think either one of those are the best choices, but those were the only ones I could think of at the time. Because during the whole fight, just like I said, with the tripping art was still great, but it was just like, yeah, this is some visuals that would go along with some music.
So speaking of the fight between Null and the Surfer, and we're not really spoiling anything in here because this is essentially what the last issue was leading into, and it's and this is a mini series after all, so they're going to confront each other sooner rather than later. What we have in this issue is a fight interrupted, and it's interrupted not by who you think it's interrupted by,
right?
And it's a pretty cool reveal at the end of the issue that it's not who you think it is, even though there's little hints dropped towards the end. Right, there's hints dropped that it's not who you think it is, and then you realize, wow, it really wasn't who we think.
Yeah, I was about to say, not even close to who you would have thought it would have been.
Right.
And I will also say, because I do have it in my notes, like reading this digitally kind of takes a little away from it, also because of the way that digital is handled, which means that the you're not reading 2 pages, you're not seeing 2 pages at one time, and there are some panels that go across both pages.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, depending on how you adjust your digital viewer, your digital reader,
right,
to view across 2 pages. Yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah, there's a little bit in this issue where that is kind of defeats the purpose of the layout.
Right. In fact, that might have happened in another book this week also, but that's it is. But it's also just it's not a factor of anything outside of the factor. Well, you're reading digitally and you have it set up a certain way. So.
Right. It's all yeah, exactly. Once you run into that, if you just reset the view so that you can view the pages, right? If you read the pages side by side, you can really take it in. But I definitely understand that and this is more for those of us who are getting our preview and review copies this way, it's a problem. I don't think this is like a Marvel Unlimited problem, because I think it adjusts the screen, it adjusts the view automatically, if I'm not mistaken.
Not sure, because
for those not motion comics, but you know what I mean.
They can, yeah, just like you could set like Comixologists, like any other reader like that, or most other readers like that. But yeah, I think that's probably correct.
Right.
Or like that, you can set it up the way you need it to.
Like if you're a loser like me and just reading this through Acrobat or something, you have to just switch it so that you're viewing it side by side, like 2 pages at a time. So it's pretty. It's simple, but like Roddy mentioned, if you really care about it, yeah, you go through the extra trouble.
Well, wow, acrobat, you're a rebel.
Oh, you know, what are you gonna do?
Get a reader? It doesn't make that big of a difference, really. But
Yeah.
but sometimes the readers is because you can set it up in a way that reading in acrobat won't really allow you to do that well, or that easily, I should say. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
That's inside baseball right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Pretty much. The next book we have, because I think we're pretty much ran that one through. Yeah. Well, actually, the one last question is, are you still invested?
Yes. What's funny about this is I did not buy a physical copy right away. I got one maybe a week later of number 1, and I did not pull number 2 yet, but I think I may add the rest of this series to my physical pull. You know, it's pretty good, and I'm surprised to see that I have previews, the previews listing for this week, where it lists that there's actually a third printing of Silver Surfer Black number 1 already. So that's pretty impressive.
I would say that's also surprising, but probably not. I don't know. Like that, the creative team in itself has goodwill, and who knows where this thing is going to go, you know. Right. So that being the case, Invaders number 7 is our next book.
Sure.
Which is a weird leap, but a leap nonetheless. Hey, if we hadn't had a movie called Captain America Civil War, I would say they could have taken at least a couple of pages out of that for this, which we'll probably kind of get into a little bit later on with a news item. Because at the beginning of the book, after the things have gone down, they're trying to recoup, trying to give outreach to some of the folks who've been displaced and are still underwater due to Namor's bomb. But there's some none too pleased personage in the form of one Tony Stark, who basically came in with the wild "I told you so," and we could have done something about it. To which Bucky kind of comes back at him. He's talking to Cap at the time, and while Bucky comes back, I was like, "Yeah, y'all tried attacking Atlantis. How'd that go?" To which there was no reply, and then a little standoff ends up happening between them, which, like, again, could have been something you would have seen or kind of sort of like have seen in one Captain America Civil War, because obviously Cap comes in and be like, "Hey, leave him alone, leave Bucky alone." And then
he basically says, "I let you have those punches."
Exactly.
Like, oh boy.
Like, yeah. Which, what would you expect? You know what the funny part about it is when Tony took those punches, I said the exact same thing in my mind, and then he ended up saying it, a page later. I'm like, "Yep, there you go, just as expected."
That's funny. I mean, I was about to say, you go ahead.
Oh no, well then, like I said, then the rest of the issue is pretty much, them trying to figure out their next move and making plans to go to deal with that. And on the other side of it, we see Namor talking to the person in his head still, which that part still kind of is weird to me. And I think there still might be something else to it that might have been. I feel like there's something else about that the answer to has been said already, but just kind of was a throwaway.
I suspect, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because something happens at the end of the issue. I didn't put it in my notes, but
a familiar to those of us of a certain vintage item of note. Right.
It's an artifact in the Marvel universe that once had a lot that actually drove a crossover many moons ago, and it's not something we've really seen, as Roddykat mentioned, for what seems like quite a while.
Mm-hmm. I'm
And
slightly surprised. I am actually kind of surprised they hadn't put it in the MCU. And now that I think about it.
I see what you mean. What I was going to say is that I was surprised that they had, up until this point, not yet put this object into this book, because this is one of those objects that ties into so many of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my guess is that there may be a tie between this particular artifact and a previous user of the artifact that is mentioned in this issue.
You're kind of where I am with that,
and I wonder if that's not going to become part of this story. And I really like where this is going. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I think we may be on the same page with that, because that's kind of what I was alluding to. If we're on the same page, I'm like, because especially with the person that's in his head, like some of the things not adding up there. And there's no way, and granted, yeah, this is kind of inserted into his history, but you would think, like, where has this been? All this other, like, obviously, this person hasn't shown up all this other time because it wasn't invented yet. But as they've laid out in this book, this person has always been there, and we're kind of seeing may or may have a little bit more control over Namor than we know, which is leading more towards what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And this artifact, which we will go ahead and say, it's the Serpent Crown. Look it up, folks. It's
right.
There was whole events built off of that thing in arcs of Avengers story and other folks' stories built off of it.
And there's also just to kind of wrap up the discussion on this book, there's also a development in Jim Hammond's appearance.
Yes.
I'm speaking of the android human Torch, where we're not sure how this is going to play out in the future, because if Hammond was one thing, if he benefited from one thing, is that he could pass as human.
Right.
And that's not necessarily the case at this point. So we'll see how this turns out, but it's an interesting development.
Right. Yes. Let's just say he is reaping the benefits of more Stark technology. Do with that what you may. Although, look, that doesn't necessarily mean that he couldn't, depending on what kind of technology is built into what he's been reformed into.
Right.
But it's probably something that's not even, on the no one's even caring, put it that way, enough to even give that anything. Because I mean, outside of this book, I can't see Jim being that big of a major player outside of here anyway. And speaking of, we also see some other. We see another longtime invader kind of pop into the fold prior to that.
Right.
So whether this person is going to have any other dealings outside of popping up then, because you saw him in a flashback, but then I guess you should have expected, okay, of course this person's going to pop up again later, or at least one of the people that was in that flashback one part of that flashback was going to pop up again.
Sure.
So it was probably inevitable. Should have seen it coming. So yeah, that's Invaders number 7. Like I said, kind of curious to see where that story is going to go. And again, I still keep falling back into like where is this in relation to World of Realms? But I need to stop it, and I got to get off of that because it doesn't really matter.
There's no point trying to figure it out, because my last note, and we've talked about it numerous times over the course of the events of the first 6 issues of this book, which is, it's still crazy that the events of the book don't bring more levels of intervention from the world at large.
Exactly.
But it might still be coming.
Right. I was saying, because there's still that part of an Avengers that we haven't seen played out. And
exactly.
That's going to come in to play there.
Exactly.
So, that being the case, what's next?
What's next?
So, we can actually go into rapid fire if you want, or throw out a couple of books. I'll spin it up. fire mode. Let's roll.
I will go ahead and do mine because I don't see any other. Yeah. Loki number 1 is a new number 1 for the week. I thought reading the last page of the book there was another one that we'd missed, but apparently that's not true, and that could have been a mistype on their part. But not to spoil too much on it, we knew Loki was going to get a new book coming out of World of Realms. So I guess spoiler, non-spoiler, if you're not caught up with that event, because he supposedly died, which I don't think he did. He was still digesting. I'm but even this book says like, yeah, he died but was reborn. I'm like, he really kind of. I'm just assuming that he wasn't fully digested yet during however long it took for the realm to happen, and so when he came back out, he was still kind of, gestating, like he was Sarlacc pit or something. But regardless, none of that matters. So he's back. He's got his own throne, and Loki's, without spoiling too much, Loki's still Loki on the inside. He's not Agent of Asgard or Loki. He's at this point, at least that we see, he is still sort of the mischief maker, but he's also the king of Jotunheim. But with that duty, he's still Loki, which means, some of the responsibilities, even though this is something he's kind of always wanted, seem to be shirked, so to speak. Actually, going to, I will say that there a thing that happens near the end or near the middle of the book after another person in Thor's life who has also had a major life change comes in and tries to school him on what he's doing, which is a funny thing in itself. Loki does a thing that is kind of funny but seems familiar, and also takes care of a problem in a similar way than he had been recently taken care of, with a person who you would not have expected. Well, actually, I take it back. You would have expected, who's kind of had some play in a couple other books, and been mentioned in a couple. Well, has been mentioned and seen in a couple of different other books as of recent note. So the fact that he's here as a beginning arc person is what it is, but laughable. So, but anyway, like I said, this person gets dispatched in a similar way that Loki had been recently, and I was like, I don't know if that was intentional or that was just happened to be happening. But regardless, it was a decent read. Not sure where this book is going to go, but hey, I'm still in for another couple of issues to see what happens. Let's see, the Domino Hot Shots number 5. This is the last issue of this book. And we see Domino and her team of ladies tackle a grieving person who's been touched by celestial energies. And they end up taking care of it, and everyone goes home all nice and happy. Well, not everybody, except for the person who was the bad guy person in the first place. But the team is all together, and they get a new mission coming out of it for their troubles, which may or may not come up anywhere else because like Domino doesn't have her book anymore, and I believe this is, and like I said, this is the last issue of this book. But it was a pretty decent read. It was cool. There was a couple of things in that it was kind of like what ifs that I wouldn't that kind of popped up on a page in the book that I wouldn't mind seeing played out. And that's all I'll say on that. X-Force number 10, speaking of Domino. This is the last issue of this book before the hickening next week. And it shows. So the team is in the future, and they've saved young Cable. And at this point, I don't know if you're reading this or not, Agent 70.
I'm not.
Yeah. But so Rachel Summers was also there, and she was in captivity, but now she is not anymore. And the team ends up wrecking shop and dealing with strife in a way. And of course, that moral quandary always comes up. Should we kill? Should we not kill? What's going to happen? The timeline, blah, 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 this and that and the other. which leads into them doing a thing that kind of cleans up pretty much the whole suppose it cleans up the whole 10 issues of the book, and as in saying it didn't happen in someone's mind. Therefore, clearing the timeline, and the book ends with them a literal wink and nod to Cable saying, "Well, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm excited for it." Wink. Like there was a literal wink at the end of the page, which again we all know the Hickning's coming next week, and I feel like that was a pretty blatant nod to that. Which at this point, why not? Wait, did Uncanny come out this week or no?
Yes.
Okay, you'll talk about that.
I'll get to it.
Yeah. Transformers number 9. Basically, Chromia and team are on a hunt, and some big booms happen and some trouble happens. Proud plays bad cop, which is always funny to see, in because of the way they got him portrayed in this series and the last series. He was kind of like bad cop, worst cop, something like that. But yeah, because they were still on the hunt of trying to figure out what's things going on, and what was hinted at happening last issue didn't happen, which I think they have maybe I did not notice. They have like 2 different things going on here, or 2 different sides, 2 different stories going on here that broke off from one of the early issues. Like 1, there's the murders, and 2, there's Prime dealing with his side of it, and then there's the police, basically bots trying to work the angles on their end, but whatever Bumblebee's doing. So there's a thing there, but regardless, it's still going on. Let's see, Teen Titans number 32. Pretty much going by my notes. It's the year of the villain tie-in. Teen Titans versus Lobo round 2, which I feel like I thought I read the issue 31, but I don't remember anything that happened with it. So I don't. That's either says a lot about me or says a lot about what I read, which probably is me. But anyway, yeah. So there's another fight with Teen Titans and Lobo, being that Crush, being the Lobo's daughter, is on the team. He came to deal with her, and apparently he was hired to do so. But the team deals with that in a kind of a way, and then we get a shot of where they put him, which was on the moon, and a projection from a Legion of Doom headquarters looking drone, and one Lex Luthor hiring Lobo to take out the Teen Titans. Kind of sounds like Extra Vengeance, probably meant to be that way. Because again, playbooks, folks. And last but not least, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 1. This was so this is the book from Matt Fraction. It's a 12-issue maxi series. I guess that's what they call them nowadays. Which is weird because it's basically just a big mini series, a double. I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of a weird book because it starts off like back in the day with before Metropolis, and apparently the Olsen clan people were like here on Metropolis, one of the first people here on Metropolis before the Luthors came and tried to take over. Then it cuts present day, and there's a little bit more on that, and then it cuts into like, and it's called up into like 2 or 3 different stories, like little mini stories, and then it gets into a story where, my present day Jimmy Olsen's working at the Bugle. The Planet, and was getting fired by.
I gotta make that a sound effect too. Sorry.
This is no problem. But yeah, and for things that so apparently he's more of a liability, but he's the one that's making the Bugle. I keep saying that. I didn't. That was not even intentional at that time. The Daily Planets. He's the one that's keeping them afloat with all of his shenanigans. But the higher ups want to kind of keep him quiet for a while because of all the liabilities they are incurring for him. So they end up sending him to the one place where I guess he can't cause trouble, but where there's a whole lot of trouble. One that's being oversaw by a certain bat, let's just say, is where he ends up. And then there's a whole thing about him being murdered. I don't know that it gets brought up, but whether that's actually a thing or because of where he is. So yeah, like I said, it's a interesting but weird and a little funny book. I don't know. May stick to it. That's it for me.
All righty. That's an interesting take on that Superman's Pal. I forgot that came out this week. I wanted to try to read that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Fraction, so you kind of expect them. Like, what were you going to do with the Jimmy Olsen anyway? So,
and what's funny about it is the way you described it is, it's almost like he's a Wayne. There's a couple of families that have multiple generations in these big.
They don't play it like that, but yeah, they kind of.
Right, where there's like multiple generations of one family in that city, and they tell the story of that family.
Yeah, so they bring it up, but they kind of drop it almost as fast as they bring it up. Like I say, the first couple of stories are kind of that, and then the next story after that is just, hey, it's Jimmy Olsen at the Daily Planet, and
right. We'll see how the rest of we'll see how the remaining 11 issues play out. So.
Exactly, because clearly that's going to come together some kind of way.
Gotcha. All right. So for my rapid fire books, I will start with Batman number 75. I hate to say this. This is the everything changes in this issue, and not necessarily for the better. I'm actually honestly considering dropping this before King finishes his Batman run. I was.
It's 10 more issues.
What's that? You went on mute.
It's only 10 more issues.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick it out. It was not it wasn't an unforeseen development, given that there's 10 more issues for this story to play out. But at the same time, I was pretty disappointed to read it.
We may have a little bit news on around that front later.
Right, and obviously with the Year of the Villain stuff taking effect, it's no surprise that this is the way the story went. So, and speaking of Year of the Villain stuff, Justice League number 28. Tough look for my guy Martian Manhunter in this issue. Shout out to Binge Mode and the folks over at that podcast. We finally see what Snyder meant by the term apex predator in the context of the story. I know I complained about that a couple of weeks ago in the previous issue, where we still had not yet found out what he meant in the context of this story, what he meant by apex predator, but we find out in this issue.
Yeah, it reads a little bit better if you've read the last couple of issues back to back.
Right. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it without having to wait. I understand.
Right.
My next book is Age of X-Men Omega number 1. Ha! Ha ha! I totally got to get that sound list. Ha ha! Seriously. I didn't have to read a single page of any of these Age of X-Men books. Not one. Well, maybe
that question.
Right. If you count the Omega book, I did read the Omega book.
Right.
Now I at least know who's back in the MU proper. Speaking of that, Uncanny X-Men number 22 is the last Uncanny X-Men book for the foreseeable future. The Matt Rosenberg bloodbath continues. It is comics, though, so we know death in comics is not permanent except for Uncle Ben.
And Ben Foster, Bill Foster, and I don't know. See, so that brings up that thing that CB Cebulski said a little while ago about some death being a little bit more permanent. Right. We don't know how far that's going to reach, or whether that's going to play into this or not. Because
this is going right into the event.
Right.
So
how that is going to play out.
Right. So this ties into the end of the Age of X-Men story. So we'll see how Hickman's 2 miniseries picks up the pieces after Uncanny X-Men number 22 and the end of Age of X-Men. The next book I've got is Captain Marvel number 8. So I jumped on. I've been reading this book. I can't even say jumped on, but I wanted to talk about it.
You've been on this book for a minute.
Right. I wanted to talk about this issue because a new character is introduced, so of course speculators being speculators, they're going to snap up this book off the shelves and throw it on eBay because it's a first appearance of a new character. The story is kind of a trope, but there is a bit of MCU storytelling that has woven its way in. This issue starts an arc that has Carol kind of having problems with her powers, but we also have the fallout from the revelations in the Life of Captain Marvel title, and they finally have an impact in the ongoing title. So there's a couple of things going on in this book. It's actually a pretty interesting read, and I'm interested to see where this goes from here. The next book I've got is Daredevil number 8. This is a strong candidate for Click of the Week. This was a really well-written issue that retcons maybe new crime family into the history of Hell's Kitchen. There's plenty of Matt Murdock highlights in this, and we are still dealing with the quote-unquote no Daredevil proper yet. So there's plenty of Matt Murdock in this, and again, it's a really, really well-written issue. So we did Immortal Hulk and Invaders and Silver Surfer Black. So the last book I've got is Spider-Man Life Story number 5. Now, I'm a late convert to this story, but it is an interesting take on the events of the Marvel Universe as if they unfolded in real time from the 60s until now. This particular issue dealt with the Civil War events as well as the introduction of Morlun and the other storyline. So it's actually, I'm honestly pleasantly surprised that I like this. I heard word of mouth on this, and that's what got me to go back and pick up the first literally 4 issues of this in one swoop. I didn't wait for the trade. I picked up the first 4 issues. I went back and found a comic book store that had them. I've been, every time I've seen this come out, I've been curious as to read it, but I still have copies of the first couple to go back to. It's definitely worth reading. So we're on 5, and I've got a Mark Bagley sketch. I'm not a fan of Bagley's work if he's in a hurry. Listen, that guy can churn out stuff in a hurry, and it shows. He's the master of, barely putting the lines together to construct a face. But in this book, he's got, he more likely than not had plenty of time from Chip Zdarsky and, to churn out this book on a limited series schedule. And he's got John Dell inking him and Frank Darmato, who's a great bang-up colorist, doing the work. So the art is very solid, despite the fact, listen, not everyone is a fan of Bagley's style, but this is the cleanest that Bagley looks when he has time and when he's got solid supporting artists who help to put together a good, solid, solidly illustrated and solidly colored book. So this is the best incarnation of Mark Bagley's art. So I definitely recommend this. It's actually a really interesting take on what would have happened if this was playing out in real life. Cool. And that's it.
I'm interested. Clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week. All right. I'm actually a little torn. I really like the Immortal Hulk. I really did. I also like Daredevil number 8 though, because I was just really, I was just really entertained by the writing in it. And shout out to Chip Zdarsky. He turned out a couple of books this week that I had a lot of fun reading. And I'm gonna make a pretty standard pick for me. I'm going with Immortal Hulk number 21 as my click of the week, but Daredevil number 8 is a close second.
Yeah, why did I do that? I feel like the last time Hulk came up, I did that, which wouldn't deter me from doing it this week. But man, I don't know. It's there was that part of Invader, the beginning part of Invaders, that was like, all right, I want more of that, but at the same time, like, we've seen this.
Yeah, right.
Which again we'll get to in the news section. You know what? I'm weird enough going to go with Silver Surfer Black.
Nice.
Because despite what I said about the art, there's still something there. Wherever it's going to land, I'm worried about it because I mean, obviously, I don't feel like this was meant to go anywhere, but just to be a self-contained, mini.
I found one.
Nice. So there is that. And with that, we're done with the books. And
sorry, it's on loop. Stupid YouTube.
Got our first ad read.
Our first ad read of the night. First ad read of the night. Pulling this up now. It's for let's see. I gotta choose. Busted Tees. This episode of the Comic Book Chronicles is sponsored by Busted Tees, your home for funny, awesome, cool t-shirts that are sure to get your friends' attention. Busted Tees puts many of their popular shirt designs on sale each week. Choose from several eye-catching t-shirts inspired by pop culture, cleverly themed t-shirts inspired by movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, and geek culture, and much more are on sale. To help keep our podcasts free, order from Busted Tees by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome t-shirts. Busted Tees through cspn.us. Do it today.
And that was time for the cinematic news.
We going into the long news section.
Wow. That would be the next section because the cinematic's not that bad. And we start off with The Flash's Killer Frost shows off new costume and clear-cut photo. So, we get a new picture of Danielle Panabaker in her new Killer Frost outfit. And if you're watching the video, you can see it there.
It's kind of creepy, no?
Yeah, that's sure.
Well, Killer Frost isn't normally like that, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's see. When was the last time we've seen Killer Frost in the comics? But regardless, obviously, it is the televised, aka DC, the cinematic version, whatever, or not cinematic, but I'm saying the TV version. So there are concessions made, obviously.
Right.
So, and even with this, from the last time I remember seeing her on the show in the costume, it wasn't that much different. Like I think that the thing she's got on the thing looks like the drapery is probably new.
Okay.
But, anyway, it's been a while since I've seen the show, but yeah, it's for a show, so I'm not gonna tart her up too bad.
All right. Next, Legends of Tomorrow Season 5's villain is a Constantine mainstay. So they have a new big bad. Constantine and his teammates are going to go up against Astra Logue, the little girl he once failed to save. Astra is looking to fill the power vacuum left behind by the archdemon Neron when the Legends defeated him. And my entire response to this is... Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like, and I could be mistaken, but I'm thinking. See, Astro's at the end of season 4. So yeah, so since Constantine's been on the show, they've been kind of putting in a few different bits of his stuff in there, adding to it. And I want to say, I can't remember if Astra was someone that was brought up on his show, which was a good show, and I wish it hadn't died so soon. But I feel like NBC was, NBC dropped the ball on that one, but especially with what it had on, but that's editorializing. So yeah, I don't know, and I'm not caught up on Legend, so I'm not sure either way, and I don't think it'll probably be the same person they brought up anyway. But hey, if you hadn't seen Constantine the show, it's out there on Hulu and other. Well, I don't know if it's on Hulu, but it's out there. You should go check it out. Actually, I don't know if they have it on DC Universe. They should. Regardless, it was a good show.
Netflix.
I'm not sure. I know the movie is on Netflix, that's for certain. But it might be there. Yeah, if it's not there, it's probably on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
if it's not on the DC universe, but I'll check in a little bit. Regardless, next up, oops. Oh, fiddle faddle. Melissa Benoist. Yeah, that's my fault. Whatever. Melissa Benoist talks about giving Supergirl pants in season 5.
What?
Yes. No more skirt.
She's tired of running around in the skirt?
Oh, I mean, actually, I'm kind of surprised it took this long, but apparently she had been bucking for it since the beginning of the show, which, kind of makes sense. Grown-ass women.
Considering she's not, I was going to say, considering she's not Kryptonian, so that anytime she takes a tumble, she's actually going to skin her knees.
Wait, she is Kryptonian.
No, I mean in real life, in the show.
Oh, yeah, true, but
I'm like, goodness gracious.
Yeah, there's only so much you can hide if
Right, if you got to take a tumble. So.
Yeah, which I don't know how much they do her. She does her stunts, but regardless, yeah. So
even the stunt woman wouldn't be able to. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's at a certain point, but they usually cut away from that stuff. They're not leaving Starbucks cups like another show we could talk about. That just ended. But regardless, like I said, yeah, there's a new costume that is coming in season 5, and it's a pantsuit, and it says here it even resembles Superman's new 52 reboot costume.
Did they show it?
Yeah, it's in the article.
Okay.
But since I thought I had, it shouldn't. My ad blocker's not blocking it, so I don't know why it's saying that.
Because they're silly.
I don't like the site that much anyway.
Well. Next up, Jay and Silent Bob reboot has cast, speaking of Melissa Benoist, Supergirl's Melissa Benoist as Chronic. So she has been cast as the new Chronic.
Yes, of Black Man and Chronic fame, if you're of a certain vintage.
Yeah, whatchamacallit. Just as a quick aside, Kevin Smith has been directing a bunch of these CW type shows. So he's created a connection, right? He's created a connection with several of the stars of those CW DC shows. So no surprise that he has created a connection with Melissa Benoist.
In fact, according to this article, it says from him that he mentioned that she is the first person outside of Jason Mewes and his daughter that she is the first person he asked to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yes, that's how much of an impression, and you can see a behind-the-scenes picture of Jason Mewes, Melissa Benoist, and Kevin Smith,
right,
from his Instagram, right there. Wait, she's dating Chris Wood, right? Oh, I don't care. Anyway, so apparently, yeah, and it's saying here that there might be an appearance by Chris Wood, who is also on Supergirl, who is apparently playing. Plays Mon-El on the show.
Gotcha.
And I guess according to this is her actual boyfriend. So, and they had their
People magazine right here, folks. But anyway,
I don't care. Anyway,
I see the suit now. So yeah, so it's kind of a full body suit for Supergirl. And as you mentioned, it is very reminiscent of the new 52 Superman suit. So that's fine. And it makes it easier for them to perform, stunts in. So.
And it's not a surprise because it's been taken a lot from Superman. The show's been taking a good bit from Superman stories and, tossing them in at random. So, not that big of a surprise. Next up, Oliver Queen's final season costume has been revealed. Speaking of costumes, so we get a picture of him, of Ollie, aka what is this dude's name? Holy shit! How did I forget that fast? Stephen Amell. Thank you. Jesus Christ. What's wrong with me? And you see part of the suits, which kind of harkens back to some of his other old suits of the past 8 years, apparently. So he looks kind of worried in that picture. I don't know why, but hey, it is what it is. So it's a weird thing about this season. Like, okay, yeah, he's going to be in season 8, but he's supposed to be leaving the show, and amongst his other people, but that's supposed to be the last season of the show. So I don't know what's going on. Regardless, there you go. Next.
Okay. Zack Snyder has basically revealed Cyborg's entire Justice League art. So in a big what-if story, Victor Stone slash Cyborg was made an integral part of the Justice League movie, but was actually cast aside for the most part during the edits for the movie. Because the film was originally slated to have at least 2 parts, Ray Fisher basically said there was enough material for Cyborg to make an entire Justice League trilogy, and it was a character arc that made its way, across multiple films. So it's a shame that the character was basically left wanting as a result of the cuts and the edits to the first Justice League.
I was going to say sent to the scrap heap, but sure.
That's fun too.
But yeah, I'm like, obviously, this kind of stuff comes out, and you want to ask, well, why is this coming out if it's not going to happen? Hey, because it tends to do that. Next up, Shui News, everybody. Batman Beyond is finally releasing on Blu-ray. So Batman Beyond fans rejoiced.
I love that music.
Yeah, it was on hit. And I was a little, I dare say, aged out, but hell, you never age out of good stuff. So yeah, there was as a matter of fact, this news came out today during the Batman Beyond panel, and I believe Kevin Conroy and Will Friedle, who played Bruce Wayne and Terry McGinnis respectively, was at that panel, and this is one of the news bits that came out of it. And I believe Batman Beyond is on. I should have checked.
It's on DC Universe.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was about to say. So yeah, I kind of figured it was. So you can check it out there. But nevertheless, it is going to be on Blu-ray, and it's going to come with some of the stuff you see in this picture, including looks like a Batman Beyond pop and some other goodies.
Right. Because despite what you may think, there are plenty of collectors out there who want physical media. So
yes, and I tend to, depending on what it is. But it says here in this article, it says, unlike Batman animated series release, not every episode of the series has been remastered from its original 35mm film footage. 41 of the 52 episodes have, but 11 specifically, and they name them all here, have been put through a process known as Smart Res, quote unquote, from Digibeta digital copies due to, according to a provided press release, by the time-worn irreparable damage to the original film. Which is weird because I know, like I said, they went back and basically remastered Batman TAS, and that was older than this show. So you would think that was like tech by the time this show came on, which is, I guess, near the end of TAS or shortly after TAS. That I guess, they couldn't quite recover. So that's kind of sad. But regardless, hey, you're getting it, and it'll be out. It says Batman Beyond swoops onto digital on demand, where it'll cost just $50 compared to the physical sets on October 15th, before the limited edition box set hits store shelves on October 29th. So look out for that, folks, Batman Beyond fans. Oh, it'll be $100.
Okay.
For the limited edition. And apparently the movie Return of the Joker is also going to be in that set. First time on Blu-ray.
Nice. And
actually, speaking of that, next thing.
Oh yes. Speaking of Batman Beyond, at the panel, at the 20th anniversary panel for Batman Beyond at San Diego Comic-Con, just earlier today, basically, it was revealed that old lady Catwoman would have been the villain of a second Batman Beyond movie. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, had Return of the Joker done well, apparently, then that would have happened, but it didn't. So, but possibly there was some insight into a great Justice League Unlimited episode called Epilogue, which we found out a little bit more backstory on Batman Beyond actually from it. Which I guess that ties into what would have happened in this movie. Coming into, which if you haven't seen that episode, is great. You should go check it out. But spoiler alert, you find out that hey, Terry is Bruce Wayne's clone son. But it's still worth a watch. You should definitely still go check it out. So yeah, that was the same panel as like the Batman Beyond coming out on Blu-ray came out. So there's that. Next,
and I also remember thinking that Amanda Waller's a psycho. But anyway.
Hey, look.
You know, I was like, really? That's what your plan is? My goodness. Okay.
Was she a psycho, or was she looking out for the national affairs? You be
Psycho. But
I
anyway,
would say that about Nick Fury, though. So the lengths they would go through to.
yeah, I was about to say, I don't think he's done that. Just not. He hasn't quite gone as far as Amanda Waller in that.
Oh, I don't know. OG Nick has done some things.
Oh, sure, but you know, that's pretty. I was about to say this one's pretty twisted. When I remember seeing that, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty twisted.
Oh, it is a bridge too far. I'm not disputing that, but I'm like, well, you know what? Especially in that universe, I'm like, yeah. I'm not surprised. Hell, this is the same universe where they cloned Superman. You know, to have a contingency planned against him.
Right.
So, not that not that big of a stretch. Anyway, Marvel Zombies inspired spoiler scene in new high-res Spider-Man Far From Home images.
Right. So spoiler alert, because we are not that far out. Yeah, it's 2 weeks, but still.
I mean, usually two weeks is that's kind of the tipping point.
Yeah, 2 weeks, but we're still ringing the spoiler bell.
Which is I remember the scene in question before we get into it, and I was like, I thought that for a brief second, but I also didn't think that, because I was like, okay, sure, but I can't see how Marvel Zombies would have influenced that just by proxy. So what we're talking about is there was a scene where basically Mysterio was taking Spidey, aka Peter, through a illusionary hell, and basically making him think that he failed Tony Stark and the city. And in one of the scenes, we see a corpse of one Tony Stark rise from the grave and come after Peter. It was a well done scene, you know. And I guess from that, either someone saying that or this article is speculating that Marvel Zombies, the book that we have talked about probably a couple times in the past recently. Apparently, yeah. So it says that terrifying shot, which took many MCU fans by surprise, is homage to Marvel Zombies, comic series created by Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead. You did not know that by now. I don't know where you've been. And yes, and Marvel Zombies is coming back, as we talked about last week. But it doesn't say. Let me see. Did it go? Yeah, it doesn't really say whether that's actually the case or whether this article is speculating that's the case, because it's not saying like, hey, the writers of the thing are saying that, or someone in the VX room is saying that or something. It's just saying that, hey, that's the case, and we don't have any. I don't know if that's an official thing or not, but regardless, sure, I guess you can make that stress, but what not? Next up,
let's see. The Spider-Man Far From Home writers in an interview revealed why Mysterio was the ideal foe. So there's an interview up on CBR where the two writers described why Mysterio was the ideal foe.
I would argue it's because we haven't used them before.
That's also a pretty big stress for this new slate of Marvel Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Because we have seen his other big bats, his other bigger bats before. So the only people who was left, Chameleon. I'm like, sure, they could have done that.
There's still plenty.
And actually, they probably still could do.
There's still plenty for him to get to.
Yeah, plenty, but plenty big ones. Like, what are they going to do? Get Puma? Actually, Puma wasn't really a bad guy, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Well, they're what it is obviously. No, I was going to say, obviously, we're talking with views of, and I'm not sure why you're laughing at this, because there are some really good ones.
Face Pot Pete?
No, that's not what I'm talking about, but he was also among the Frightful Four. We're talking about ones that are integral to his relationship with.
I mean, they're back to doing Sinister Six. We know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With J. Jonah Jameson as well. So.
Sure.
We haven't fully seen the Scorpion yet. Even though we've been teased it, things like that.
Right, but we've seen Doc Ock before. We've seen Vulture now. Wait, have we seen Vulture before?
We still haven't seen the Jackal. We still haven't seen. Right, there's still a number of and there's a reason why there's a reason why Spidey's Rogues Gallery is still numbered among one of the top, one or two.
Oh, I'm not saying he doesn't have a deep, but at a certain point, like after you get past the Sinister Six, it kind of there's a decline. Kind of formidable, yes, but still. Like, the Spot.
I mean, we're dealing with what I was going to say is we're obviously not dealing with the elephant in the room, which is that Sony has taken Venom and maybe taken Carnage, and those would have been characters we would have seen in Marvel Spider-Man movies. But in any event, we can move on to the next story.
Prowler. Well, because there's actually a possible.
It's already come up. I was about to say he's actually already come up.
Fans think this is that same. I gotta stop using these people. Fans spots Mysterio's hidden appearance. Yes, fan spot Mysterio's hidden appearance in Spider-Man: Far From Home. Now, yes, I know what you're saying. Like, yeah, he's all up and through it once it gets from the beginning of the movie. Once we see him with Nick and Maria Hill. No, and apparently this might be somebody not saying, someone that you may follow. So a person named on Twitter named Task, was it Task From Home? I think I have it in here. Up to Task on Twitter basically made an observation where Jake Gyllenhaal shows up after when Peter arrives in Venice in plain clothes or in vacation clothes, as per se. So basically, you find out if that being the case, which has been confirmed because there's a picture of Jake Gyllenhaal in the same clothes in a behind-the-scenes thing, that Mysterio's been keeping an eye on Peter for longer than we knew early on in the movie. But it was kind of I guess it was a blinking you miss notice. And being that Far From Home is not on video net yet, I'm not sure how he saw this unless it's in the trailer. Or somebody was busy taking stills in the in the movie theater. But regardless, so yeah, this dude found that out, and that led to the thing. So that was a good eye from that person.
All right, next up, Sam Raimi responded to that Far From Home cameo. I'll ring the spoiler bell again. Well, I'm not going to discuss it, but only just say that this is a character that has now technically appeared in both. So he apparently gave his blessings to it.
Yeah, basically the long and short for us was like he didn't know anything about it until the person in the cameo told him that it was in there, and I think he still at the time of him being interviewed hadn't seen the movie, but like I said, that's how he found out. So he was cool with it. Like, what was he gonna say? Oh, he should have done that. Like, I don't know. So yeah, that's a thing that happened. Next up, Captain Marvel's Lashana Lynch is 007 in James Bond 25. This is a report. There's no truth to this at all at this point. We should stress that.
And there's also a twist to the story. So
yes, there usually is. So basically, yeah. So the UK's Daily Mail, which I think is the gospel record, I don't know, is reporting that Lashana Lynch will play 007 in the next currently produced the 25th James Bond film. Although she won't be playing James Bond, which makes more sense to me. So, and I will take an aside and say a lot of people on Twitter including myself, wouldn't have a problem with this. Because I know a lot of people were trying to say either Idris Elba or somebody could be the next Bond if Daniel Craig doesn't want it. And I think there was a side thing where Idris Elba was doing a promo thing for Hobbs and Shaw and said basically he wasn't going to mention, because I think they might have had a line in that movie saying that he's a James Bond type character, or calling himself the James Bond type character, and he said he wasn't going to do that line out of respect. That aside, but anyway. So yeah, so due to some whatever, it's not necessarily the case that she's going to actually be James Bond in this movie. And I had no reason to believe that they were actually going to do this, because, well, just for good reason. Because I feel like, so in the last movie, Daniel Craig, there ended up being a new Moneypenny, who started out as an agent, And I felt like, well, okay, that was a kind of a roundabout thing, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they did something like, oh yeah, she starts out as an agent, and then something happens to the old Moneypenny, who I believe is slated to be back for this one, and then Lashana Lynch ends up being Moneypenny or something. So some kind of swerve, would have made that not true. Would have made what this is reporting not true, because I seriously doubt they would have just done something like that, even as much as myself and people would want something like that, because and using stupid outdated tropes as the saying, well, why Bond can't be a woman and this, that, and the other, but we'll go past that.
Trevor Noah has a funny joke about it. But,
yeah.
Which unfortunately made so much logical sense.
Yeah. But yeah, if you know the joke you're talking about, we're gonna look it up.
Next up, Avengers Endgame directors are going on tour for some reason, kicking off at SDCC. They've already revealed it. It's a thank you tour. And they're giving away cool stuff to people everywhere but New York, apparently.
I don't need it.
So special fan events around around the country, kicking off in San Diego. So it's what is it, Thank You 3000, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So
sure, do that thing. So that's cool. Not necessary, but it's a cool thing.
But hey, if it helps the movie get past Avatar, do it, because I'm petty.
I believe they said that's not going to happen.
Petty. It's close. It's only $6 million down.
Yeah, but I think it's still not going to do it from last reports.
It's going to be close. Come on.
I don't care one way or the other.
People don't need to go see Lion King for the umpteenth time.
Well, somebody will. That's a whole nother sad story. Mark Ruffalo wins Comic-Con with throwback photo of his Marvel co-star sleeping. So the adorable man playing Bruce Banner once again wins the internet, or at least that's the thing they say, by posting something amusing. And you can see the picture. Excuse me, here if you're watching the video, where he tweeted out, remember to get plenty of sleep before you arrive at SDCC, like my friends from work did in 2017. #TBT. So, and you see a picture of him, Chris Hemsworth, Taika Waititi, and I don't know who's that other person. I can't really tell.
Hiddleston.
Is that Hiddleston? Yeah, it is.
Hiddleston.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I couldn't tell right off the bat. But yeah, so all three of them sleeping on one couch or one futon in an amazing way, which I remember sleeping like that when I was little, and it's not always comfortable. Anyway, so it was a cute picture.
I was about to say, in big related news, in advance of San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that Thor 4, the fourth Thor movie, is now in the works. And Marvel's bringing back Ragnarok's Taika Waititi to write and direct the movie. And also, he's also back burnering the Akira movie as well.
It is as a cost, which is no great loss personally, but it is at a loss of him being able to do the Akira film, which we didn't need a live action Akira film. Let's be honest.
I mean, it's going to put that, it's going to
even with him by the helm
more into even more of development limbo as he goes forward with Thor 4.
I think that said is indefinitely out of the question. But who's to say it can't get back in some kind of way? But so the good news for Thor fans, Thor Ragnarok fans specifically, because that movie was great. Taika Waititi, just pretty dope what he does. Probably more Korg. Anyway, so that's the thing that happened. I kind of wanted there to be the H4R to be the titling, but I know they're not going to do that. What I would really love is them to do a Thor core movie, but that's not going to happen either, probably. Because I can't imagine what else they're going to do. Well, actually, we know what they're going to do thanks to World of Realm, but that's a whole new thing entirely. Next up, Disney Plus adds another Marvel nonfiction series, Marvel Storyboards. And I had another article after that, but I don't know what I did with it, which really doesn't do any good now. So basically, episodes of Marvel storyboards will be between 10 to 15 minutes long. The initial slate of episodes will include interviews between Joe Quesada and subjects such as actor Hugh Jackman, Frozen composer Robert Lopez, Teen Vogue editor, executive editor. I'm not going to pronounce the name. My apologies. And Olympic figure skater Johnny Weir. Quesada likened the series to Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, R.I.P. Anthony Bourdain. So we go on locations, but instead of food, or quote unquote, from Quesada, we go on locations, but instead of food or culture being the focus is the guest, the way they tell stories and their stories. So yeah, that joins the slate of Disney Plus stuff that is coming November 12th. Next.
Alrighty, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is set to end after season 7 on ABC. So Jeff Loeb has come out and announced this, and now they're dealing with the last 13 episodes of the show.
Yeah, I need to catch up with that. I'm
just gonna end up binging it because I don't feel like jumping on now. I think I missed most of season 6. So
I believe I'm still at the end of season 4. But yeah, I've been seeing things here and there because of news stuff, and it's like, there's some things that happened. Things went down apparently. Anywho, so that's that. Hey, five. I've said it before. 5 years is a good run. 7 years, that's pushing it, but that's still good. So, other news out of San Diego: Stan Lee is a kid again in The Amazing Stan. So apparently, this is going to be an animated show done by POW Entertainment, which we have talked about before. Stan Lee has had dealings, favorable and not so favorable, with them before his passing, which is kind of dubious, but that's me editorializing. Anywho, The Amazing Stan revealed a posthumous project which envisioned our world today through a young Lee's eyes, as if he were a kid in 2019, which I can't imagine how they would pull that off properly, because he was nowhere near a kid in 2019. Anyway, the Amazing Stan is a combined effort from Pure Imagination Studios and Lee's, as I said, Power Entertainment. So, and when is that coming out? At some point. And there was a statement from someone from POW. I won't read it, but you can go check it out.
All right, next up, the Kingsman trailer shows the birth of the Kingsman and a sword-fighting Rasputin.
Yeah, speaking of Rasputin, he'll be coming up later on in the news.
Right.
Yes, and this new Kingsman is a prequel to the whole series, if I'm not mistaken. And the dude that plays Eggsy, Taron Egerton, is supposed to be in it some kind of way. So, go figure. And Ray Fiennes. And somebody named Harris Dickinson, which I guess he's going to be the first actual Kingsman. So, here you go. That's the thing. It's coming. Terminator Dark Fate brings Edward Furlong back as John Connor. So, and I know someone that I know is very, very excited for this for reasons that.
You mean Edward Furlong's agent?
Well,
oh no!
I'm sure Edward Furlong but I'm speaking of someone of a female persuasion. But yes, I'm sure his agent was definitely ecstatic. So yes, so this is also leading credence to what we've said before. They're basically every movie past 2 is getting the shovel, continuity wise, I guess. So I don't know. Are you curious about this
Terminator movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got some names behind it, like obviously all of the the quote unquote originals are back, and you got Gabriel Luna playing a Terminator.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to myself rush out. What's funny is that before we move on to comic book news, it's funny that I was listening to a podcast earlier about how streaming has really changed our attitudes towards what we see in the movie theaters, and more so than even cable and on-demand stuff. I think that there are movies that you're willing to wait for. There are movies that you're willing to go to the movies for right away, no matter what anybody says. There are movies that you're willing to call up, numerous friends and put together a group to go watch. And there's movies that you go watch no matter who, despite people not wanting to go see it, you go on your own. This is one of those movies where I'm not sure where it falls just yet. It may end up being one of those movies that no one else wants to see, and I may just go on my own on like a matinee and just catch it, just to see it on the big screen.
I feel like I agree with you there, but I feel like that has been a thing even before, what we have going on now. It's just a matter of
it's about how much time you're willing to wait. That's all.
Well, there is that, yeah, because we used to have to wait a longer time before stuff got out to home use than we do now.
Right, and also how you get it as well, because back then, you had to wait until it got to your local Blockbuster. Oh my God, rest in peace, Blockbuster.
And except for that one.
Exactly, and and that was a certain amount of waiting period. But even then, you had to wait till maybe it hit one of the pay TV channels.
Right. Yeah, and it's a longer time. So folks don't really know it was a longer time than what it is now. Before it got to
a pay TV channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but now it gets the streaming, pretty quick. It gets the on-demand streaming first, so you can rent it, and then it gets to regular streaming where it's part of a service.
Right. We used to have to wait whole years, and now it's like 4 months.
Less.
4 months is pretty much the minimum at this point, depending on the movie. So, but hey, it is what it is.
Right. That's one of the reasons I was going to say. That's before we move on to comic book news, that's one of the reasons why I understand your and not just your but the doubts that you have that Endgame would pass Avatar. It's gotta, because I'm petty, but because the home video release is in less than a month.
Mm-hmm.
The physical home release, because I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. The streaming release is even sooner, so that is probably going to put any sort of dent into whatever people want to see when they if they want to go to see Endgame in the theaters one last time. So that's really the biggest.
And that for me, it just came for that was an article I saw like probably a few days ago that said it was that's probably after the last show, it was like, it's not going to do it.
They're still down like 5 point something million. They need one strong weekend, but as I was joking about before, just don't go to see The Lion King right away.
Which again, like, it's all going to the same place, so at a certain point, it don't matter.
In that case, it's going to the same place. But, I'm all about knocking Avatar out of the spot. So
I'm not wait, Avatar, but the same people who own. We had this conversation before.
Exactly.
So let us move on to the comic book.
Like Avatar hoodwinked so many people with the kitties and the 3D. That's what.
All right. You're traumatized. I get it. It was
so mad about I could do a whole Treasury edition about how Avatar. Just completely, like no one's asking for sequels to Avatar.
I agree with you there.
I'm ranting here. I'm on my soapbox at this point. So.
Oh, sure, but when I do it, all right. I mean, anyway.
No, I'm just ranting about how nobody needs Avatar. This is nothing that.
I'm completely agreeing with you.
This is nothing but what you call it, fan backlash. It's like, come on, people! I went to see that stupid thing once. I was pretty good with once.
I've still never seen it out. The whole thing.
And everyone, my sister dragged me to go see it because of the 3D.
Oh well,
that's word of mouth. Word of mouth was a thing. It was like, well, this is one of the best renditions of a movie in 3D you'll ever see. And to that point, I agreed. But then I realized,
I think that's part of the reason why I didn't see it either.
Right after the fact that 3D is not that big a deal anymore.
Well, yeah, but it was then. But still, the parts I have seen of that movie, I still don't get it. But at the same time, I didn't watch it in quote unquote optimal conditions.
Right.
As what people will say. I don't care. Regardless, let's move on. Comic book news. And this was hinted at. Well, this might have been a behind the scenes thing, or actually we might have talked about it or hinted at it last week. DC's Naomi, DC's teen superhero's last name honors a late creator. I know we brought this up even not on the show than behind the scenes, because there was this article that came out that said that Naomi was named after Dwayne McDuffie in some part. So it says here the creative team has finally revealed her full name, which is Naomi McDuffie, which, like I said, named after Dwayne McDuffie.
It's a nice homage.
Yes, it is. And continuously missed. I think when was it? It was an anniversary of his passing recently or something.
Say again?
I said it might have been the anniversary of his passing recently.
Not sure.
Yeah, I know I've seen people saying things on the Twitters, but I don't know if that was the case or just remembering and whatnot. But regardless, that's a cool homage. And I should read that book. I have it on deck to read that soon. Next.
All right, next up, the Batman classic 1966 TV series contained, as part of the story, a Shakespeare head bust that you could flip to open the entrance to the Batcave, and now you can have a bank, that you can save your spare change in. That is shaped in that shape.
I feel like there's been enough people to have seen Batman 66 to know this, but that was good. That was good, because you're right. There probably are some people. So yeah, so if you have a fireman's pole handy and a fireplace and this bust, you can live out your Batman fantasies.
What's funny is that before we move on to the next story, that I think in several versions of the movie and several versions of Batman in movies and in animated form, they've had the entrance to the Batcave activated by piano keys.
Yes.
And I'm not 100% sure why they never incorporated the Shakespeare bust, because they wanted to distance themselves from the camp.
I think that's probably what it is, yeah.
But I always thought this was just a great little, who would have thought that they could, lift up a head of a bus to activate something. So that's all. That's all. I understand that it's even more well hidden if you have to play it.
I mean, either way, it's like, okay, you're
on the piano, but still,
like okay, you have a secret passageway in your stately mansion that you have to activate some kind of way that with a pole that you have to go down to or some kind of stairs or something to get down there. That even in itself is some sort of camp, regardless. But nevertheless, here we are. Next up, the 7 Jokers, inside everything DC Comics got planned for the Clown Prince of crime, that is including that movie that didn't need to come out. So yeah, this is an article that's talking about the upcoming projects that are Joker aligned, related, whatever, and that includes Detective Comics 1008, Batman Curse of the White Knight, which is the sequel to Batman White Knight, which is great. You should read that. Harleen, which is a DC Black Label series that focuses on the Joker and Harley Quinn. Excuse me. There's another book called Joker, Harley Quinn, Criminal Insanity, written by Cameron Garcia. Why did that name sound familiar? I think that's a prose book. DC Black Label limited series. And the Joker Killer Smile, which is another book. And skipping ahead because there's another one called The 3 Jokers, which I guess that was the thing that came up in the books, right?
The 3 Jokers, yeah.
Yeah. Which, have they even gone back to that?
It's still in the works, believe it or not. I ran into It was last year, already last year. The last year's Terrificon, I ran into Jason Fabok, and he was already putting, he had promotional artwork for Three Jokers, but they still haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know what's going on with that particular project.
Yeah, because I feel like I remember we talked about it like a couple of years ago when it got brought up, and then hadn't really heard that much from it.
Right, like I said, promo art is a year old, and they still haven't done anything with it. So we'll see. But as I like to joke, Doomsday Clock may not come out before the end of this year, so that may have a lot to do with what's on hold at DC.
Yeah, maybe. I saw somebody reading Doomsday Clock recently on Twitter that I follow, and I wanted to tweet him out like you got time, you don't really have to do that. But I did. So
there is no rush.
Yeah.
When they solicit the trade, that's when you can go and finish it.
Yeah, even if you're interested then. But the last title, which was interesting to most, is a John Carpenter written book called Joker, Year of the Villain #1. John Carpenter, yes, that John Carpenter of Big Trouble in Little China and many other movies fame, is writing and Halloween, whatever they live on, all that other stuff, whatever. Joker, Year of the Villain
side project.
Yeah, just Big Trouble in Little China, that is the main one. But anyway, so it's a one shot, as you might expect from the title, deals with the Joker during Year of the Villain. So
right, which is an ongoing long form story for DC, right?
Yeah, some of which we talked about earlier that is, doing whatever. Next up.
Alrighty. DC Comics announced Scott Snyder's next Batman project, which is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Batman Nightfall #1, the first in a series of one-shots set in an alternate universe. And I'm out.
That does it for you, huh?
Yeah. Because I don't care.
Did you read Nightfall?
I did, but it's Tales from the Dark Multiverse.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how much of that. I don't think I've ever read Nightfall, but I know what I think I
read most of Nightfall, so
so that's the thing that's happening.
I had friends. This came out my senior year of college. No, senior year of high school.
I was about to say
No, because what I was going to say is senior year of high school, on my way to college, I think it was still coming out, and I had a couple of friends who were collecting Nightfall. One of which was at Matt Wang 97, and he was lending me copies to read. So
of course, it's always Matt.
It goes back. I was about to say we go back a long ways.
So yeah, that's the thing. I'm sure, I don't know, Matt may or may not be excited about it. We'll find out.
Yeah, he's there right now, San Diego.
Yes, he is. That's why I said we'll try to next week if we can, because I know he's a busy man. DC returns to the Dark Multiverse, speaking of, for a new Death of Superman story. Hey, guess what, folks? It's another Tales from the Dark Multiverse.
God.
And this one being the Death of Superman, which is also a one-shot. Yeah. So that's the thing that's going to happen, folks. And there's probably a few dozen more that's going to happen out of this.
All right.
I don't know. Let's see. I think, I didn't check. That might be from October Solicits. I'm not sure, because I think those might have been the only ones that we didn't.
Yeah, I was about to say, the October Solicits, are they out yet?
They are out, because we talked about, I know I mentioned it like last week, but I didn't see DC or Marvel's.
Yeah, I don't think they put up full Solicits yet.
Yeah, so I think, but a bunch of other people did. So like I said, they usually one or the other kind of holding off. So, and I imagine since San Diego's going on, if it's not out by now, they'll be popping up soon.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, next up, Hellblazer is rejoining the Sandman universe with a new ongoing. So John Constantine is going to rejoin DC Sandman universe titles, first with a one-shot, then an ongoing series. End of October 30th, near the end of October, the Sandman universe presents Hellblazer #1. written by Simon Spurrier and artist Marcio Takara, will induct the character into the Neil Gaiman curated group of titles, followed by an ongoing in November.
Yeah, which I thought there was an ongoing. I thought Hellblazer was actually going on right now, unless they killed that title. But then, not that I was reading it, but I know there was a fairly recent Hellblazer title as recent as last year. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. I know someone would probably be happy about that. Young Animals Collapser explores mental health in a black hole. So yeah, Young Animals still around for some reason. And let's see, Mikey Way, I'm assuming some kin to Gerard Way, and Sean Simon debut the new 6-issue series Collapser. The two started talking about co-writing when Way was a part of the band My Chemical. Oh, yep, there we go. My Chemical Romance with his brother Gerard, who owns my Young Animal imprint. Which, yeah. Anyway, the new series, which features art by Ilias Kyriazis, follows a wannabe DJ who struggles with anxiety, but gets a package in the mail containing a black hole that imbues him with amazing powers, which weirdly sounds like a New Universe book for some strange reason. And this is a story talking with them and that. So all you have to do is be the brother of be an artist or a brother of an artist, and you can get into comics. Yay. Anywho, next up.
That's good news. Teen Titans Raven is heading to a second printing. So following rave reviews and a chart-topping debut, Kami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo's original graphic novel, Teen Titans Raven, will receive a second printing. Good for them.
Yes. So this is where I remember the name Kami Garcia from, but also Gabriel Piccolo, whom I don't know.
He's not a Dragon Ball character.
He is not the Dragon Ball character, correct? But his art, if you've seen his art on Instagram, a while ago, I think a lot of people kind of got onto him, and I don't think he was in the business yet. But he was doing art for like the Teen Titans and stuff on his Instagram page, and it was great stuff. And I think that may or may not be why he got this gig. And I think he was also doing some Archie stuff. But if you ever get a chance to check out his page, you should, because his art is awesome. Some of which you can see right there. So anyway, next up, Lex Luthor achieves. So we kind of talked about this, or at least hinted around it. Lex Luthor achieves his final form. Another Dragon Ball reference, at the cost of a Justice Leaguer's life. So this is a spoiler for this week's Justice League, in which Luthor takes out one of the league. The head of the league, I guess. I didn't recognize. I don't remember.
I didn't want to spoil it.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm gonna say. But if you know who's chairing the oops. If I scroll down a little bit more, you probably saw it. But yeah, so that's the thing that happened. Some illegal may or may not be alive as of this issue. But we will see. Next up.
All right, Black Adam takes on the spoiler who laughs. Well, who the hell laughs? In DC, who else laughs? In DC.
So I had that same thought when I read this. Well, before I read this, I'm like, wait, there's only one category. The blood is not the one you're thinking about. Because Black Adam is going to be facing off with Shazam, who was infected by the Batman who laughs and becomes the Shazam who laughs, or Black Shazam, or something like that.
Whatever.
So Black Adam, You're the Villain #1 is written by Paul Jenkins and Aki Miranda. Takes the Shazam who laughs to Kahndaq, the home of Black Adam, where he intends to turn the country into his new playground. So yeah, there you go. And there's a picture of which I'm assuming to be the cover of said issue.
Okay.
Next up.
Let's see. Oh no, this is you.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Tom King on Batman, Mr. Miracle, and more. So Tom King, today at San Diego, was on a panel, I guess, to discuss his journey to Eisner Award-winning comic writer, and he was accompanied by his Mr. Miracle collaborator, Mitch Gerards. They talked about a bunch of stuff, including the reception of Heroes in Crisis, City of Bane, and other thing. So he basically was like, yeah, people hate it. He quoted here, says, people fucking hated it so much. I've never written something, talking about Heroes in Crisis, never written something someone hated so much. But I loved it. I think I got the message I wanted to get across. I think killing Wally, it was a tough hill for people to climb. And Jordan Gerard chimes in and was like, it all made sense when bad things happen to, you know, they talked about it, and, you know. So this is like Tom King's a good writer. So, you know, so he's had a couple of great successes, and then he gets panned for others, you know, for some of the other stuff, which sadly happens.
Yep.
You know, and it's not enough to warrant death threats on people.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's stupid. Next up, DC's Dan DiDio addresses the retirement of the Vertigo imprint. So, as we spoke about last week, DC is retiring the Vertigo imprint, and they are consolidating several titles from various DC imprints under what's supposed to be a more streamlined list of imprints. So that's roughly what they, you know,
right.
what this is all about.
Except Young Animal, I believe, is not one of them, strangely enough. I don't believe. But that's still, that whole situation still is weird to me. Everything we know about the Ultimate Universe's return to Marvel. So yeah, the Marvel Universe is been dead in the water for a few years from ago. Was killed off in Secret Wars, but now it's poised to come back. We've already talked about, you know, that Miles Morales is, you know, that in the pages of Miles Morales in issue 10, I believe, it's going to make his appearance back. And then there's also been reports that Donny Cates is going to head up a new version of the Ultimate Universe, which doesn't make that much sense to me.
Okay.
But given you know what happened, like you kill off a universe, and then granted, the person who was heading over the heading the universe, you know, since has gone to another company, and the universe itself has been folded into the Prime universe, and now some way it's going to come back. I'm kind of really hoping that they don't say, well, since the Ultimate Universe is back, we're going to put Miles back over there.
I doubt that highly.
Marvel has done stranger things before. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would not put it past them. So, but again, we don't know what it all entails. But this article is exploring suggestions as to what that could entail. I think it's a speculation piece based on, you know, what little we know of right now, or what's going on in Miles right now, I guess. So.
Right. So I'm just apologizing right now. I'm doing something San Diego Comic-Con related. Pre-orders for the 80th anniversary Marvel Legends have hit tonight, and the one Walmart exclusive Captain America that I was annoyed that I couldn't pre-order tonight just hit pre-order, so I just pre-ordered it. So I had to step away, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that was the one that Matt was supposed to get you, but
no.
Oh, okay.
That's an exclusive for San Diego.
Sure.
This is just a stupid Walmart exclusive, and I hate Walmart. I still haven't gotten the Worthy Cap Marvel Legends, but I just ordered the whatchamacallit, the 80th anniversary cap. So
sure, there may be another figure you may or may not want, but that we will talk about in a minute or two. But it's tied to something you may or may not also want. That being said, let us move on to the next thing. Like I said, I don't know if you had anything on that Ultimate Universe situation.
No, I'm good. All right, next up, whatchamacallit?
Kind of old news.
Yeah, I was about to say we talked about this.
We did. There was a reason why I put this in here, though, but I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, that's why.
Oh, because of Spidey 2099. Okay.
Right, because we didn't actually talk about that part.
Right. Well, we didn't spoil it, so we just mentioned it. We mentioned it in the abstract, so I just spoiled it. Spidey 2099, Miguel O'Hara has crashed back into the current timeline of the Marvel Universe. So,
but again, I thought he was already here.
He went back at the end of that series, the Will Sliney series with Peter David.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Which makes sense because I wasn't reading that. So, all right. But now he's back again. Weird. Next up, Immortal Hulk number 25. Shout out to Tim, by the way, because like I said, he's been writing some of his news. And I'm not getting it because of him, but it just so happens to be on a number of the stuff that we. Immortal Hulk number 25 lands double-sized end of the universe issue. So, this issue that is coming up, because we are on 21 right now. So it's going to be a double-sized issue that will jump a billion years into the future of the Marvel Universe, or at least what's left of it, according to this article. And apparently, there may be rumblings of the Hulk's actual death, which, as we know from the Immortal Hulk, is a near impossibility. But apparently, this issue may address that. And something else that was actually alluded to in the letters page of this week's issue, something called The Ninth Cosmos Will Cower Before the Breaker of Worlds, which is another of the titles that the Hulk has gone by over the years. It's because there was a fan speculation of whether the Breaker of Worlds would return to the book in some sort of way and fashion, and Al Ewing kind of addressed that in the letters page.
Okay.
Or at least mention something he didn't exactly say, So that could be possibly an allusion to this. So yeah, that is coming. It is, and when I first read this, I was like, wait, is this the end of the actual book? No, it just happens to be a double-sized issue with, wherever it's going to go after that. I don't know, but we'll see when we get there, I guess.
We're almost there, which is really exciting.
Pretty much. Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
So,
I'm glad you got this one.
Yeah, because this is stupid. So
yes,
some idiots in our supposed law enforcement have asked, a union has asked officers to post the Punisher logo, and Twitter has clapped back. So this has been an ongoing thing, especially after the idiot American sniper ran around with the Punisher logo, and tried to make that a thing.
Mm-hmm.
People forgetting that Frank Castle is a vigilante.
Yes, mass murderer.
And yeah, he's he's a vigilante in the classic sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Where he literally is judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes.
Not necessarily the guy that ties up people for the cops to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, illusion, but it would have been a terrible one.
Right. So ultimately, Twitter has taken these idiots on.
Yes, and again, yes. If you said, well, we've heard this before. Yes, you have. Even so far as say John Barenthal, who plays the most recent iteration of the Punisher, said, "This is stupid. Don't do this." And I'm paraphrasing, but basically said, that's the thing. So the people who were tasked to serve and protect you should not be going along with this logo on anywhere near them. But stupidity reigns supreme nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, my order's in. But I still can't get a freaking worthy Captain America. That's just gonna bother me. It's gonna bother me.
Just take a hammer from one of your other Thors.
It's just gonna bother me.
Jonathan Hickman previews his multi-year plan to reinvent Marvel's X-Men's comics. Multi-year, folks. Which, again, I think we have said before, if it's anything like his Infinity leading up to Secret Wars type situation, this should be good. Hopefully. You don't want to put too much on it before it even comes out, which is next week, by the way. I believe House of X next week and Powers the week after, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so this is a an article from Entertainment Weekly with Jonathan Hickman about some of his plans.
Cool.
And I know we have a reporter in the field that will be covering another panel that will talk about some stuff tomorrow, which hopefully we will talk about next week. Well, we will be talking about the book next week anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Next.
Right. So in another interview, Jonathan Hickman is saying
it's the same one.
Oh, same one.
Mm-hmm.
Same interview. Jonathan Hickman also came out and said that Marvel Comics is making a big mistake by taking some cues from the Marvel Studios movies, where it's supposed to be the other way around, where Marvel Comics should be setting the trend, should be the trendsetter for Marvel Studios to follow.
Right. And
that's pretty much what he says. Yeah,
basically. And I tend to agree with this because it didn't make any sense. Like, okay, so the MCU is made up of patchworks, almost Secret Wars, Battle World style of plots and ideas. And even unless you did not know, the whole idea of the MCU loosely comes from the Ultimates universe, wherein Nick Fury, starts up the Avengers. So we should not let that part goes past. And then from there on, it's a patchwork of, Prime stuff and other not universal stuff, but basically, 616 and Ultimate Universe stuff and all patched together. So it's basically similar. It's kind of sort of like what Disney did with the Star Wars, with the exception of the fact that, well, I guess some of it is and some of it isn't. Not because what they did there is like all of the extended universe stuff is put out the pasture, but they will cherry pick stuff that they want to use and they will bring it back into canon in the movies and any shows that they got coming up. And that's kind of sort of a little of what they're doing here. The difference being is that a lot of the stuff that they're using in the MCU started in the comics, goes to film, and then comes back out to the comics as canon in some roundabout way, and that's dumb.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's what's going on, and I guess there's some misguided. Well, I mean, maybe some numbers show it that, hey, maybe the people that are going to see the movie will go and check out the comic books, and if they see it just like what they see in the movies, then they'll be more apt to get into it or something. I mean, I've heard that being thrown around.
It's an argument, but I don't think it's right.
I agree with you. So that's it. But yeah, it's an interesting take, and one that's like not only you and I and a bunch of other people who commented on the article agree with wholeheartedly. So, and they basically said, let me see, to just pull out a quote, they have $1 million to play with, and we don't. You can't compete in that matter, and you shouldn't. The writer continued. My argument has been that I should always be way out in front of that stuff. All of that stuff is being drawn out from source material, in which Hickman ought to know because a lot of his material has been used, leading up to the previous couple of movies, that being, Endgame and Infinity War.
Right.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, the other quote that I actually wanted to put up was like, I think this is one of the big mistakes that some people make at Marvel Comics is that we are reactive to what they're doing in the Marvel films. We should not be taking our creative cues from the direction they're taking in the movies. That kind of defeats the point. So, yeah, kind of going back to what we just said. So, yeah.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, I've never understood it, and it doesn't make much sense, but yet here we are. Next up.
Alrighty.
X-Men, several major mutant deaths mark the end of an era.
What I referred to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We don't have to go too far, but there's been a lot of killings in the recent X-Men books.
It's a bloodbath.
Yeah, kind of. And some people have taken issue with someone. I think this article kind of mentioned it. I did not know about one of the deaths.
I didn't want to spoil it.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the one that this article talks about, but there was another one in one of the other books, in the specifically the War of the Realm book.
I mentioned it. I didn't spoil it.
Right. but I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Oh.
It was part of a conversation where you were talking about how, kind of fairly, Rosenberg had been criticized for killing off lots of female characters. I said, well, he just killed off a male character.
Yeah, and
that was the one that you just found out about. I gotcha.
Right. Well, and I heard about the fact that it was, females and people of color, which apparently that person that we're referring to is that, and he just. I kept saying I was going to read that book. I still will, but it's at this point it's not even necessary because that event's over with. But yeah, there's been a lot of killings, and as we said earlier, whether that's going to be whether that's going to either be permanent or be a non thing because of what Hickman's about to do, we don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So I kind of feel like that's probably they're not going to bring it back. If they bring it back, it ain't going to be anytime soon. But again, we don't know what Hickman's going to do, and we don't know what's going to happen. So it is what it is. But yeah, I didn't know about this one that he's talking about here in Uncanny. I'm like, interesting.
Yep.
Next
up, Marvel Spider-Man video game is now the best-selling superhero game ever. Hold on. Nope.
No, that was good. No, that was it.
No, I was looking for.
Really? Come on, there's more applause than that. Telling you, it's a great game. There you go. Nothing if you want to marry it to you do it, but anyway, we don't have time for all that. Well, yeah, according to MPD numbers, Marvel Spider-Man beat out 2 of the Batman Arkham games. And that's Arkham Knight and Arkham City, which were the last 2. Right.
Now, this is from the person who's cheering on video games, but can't cheer on in-game hopefully passing Avatar.
Hey, look. It is what it is, man. I mean,
I kid. I just think it's funny. You're just like, yeah, just best the 2 Arkham Asylum games. I see you.
Hey, they're all great games. Although I haven't played Arkham Knight yet. Now that I think about it, I played a little bit of Arkham City, but those games are good too. Marvel Spider-Man also good. And I'm more partial to the Spider-Man game because I've played more of that than the Arkham games. Either way, the list kind of gets rounded out by 2 Lego games, that being Lego Batman and Marvel Secret Heroes, which I think has been out for a while. 2 Spider-Man the movie games, Injustice: Gods Among Us, the first one, not the second one. Weirdly enough, so according to this list here, and I don't know how long this list. So Marvel Spider-Man has only been out since last year, and the rest of these games have been out for a couple of years. So it's weird, and also. Okay, so it's U.S. Lifetime Top 10 Best-Selling Superhero Games, physical and full game digital from MPD. And like I said, a lot of these games have been out for a minute. Like Injustice, I think the first Injustice came out like in 3, 4, 5 years ago. Injustice 2 is rounded out at the 10th, and Arkham Asylum, which is the first Batman Arkham game, has been out for a few years. And so yeah, which again, most of the games on this list is good. I haven't played the Lego Batman game, but I have played Lego Marvel Superheroes, but it's a Lego game, so it is what it is. Nevertheless, numbers, all good games. Let it roll. Next up, speaking of San Diego, what's going on in San Diego? So Marvel Games had their panel today, and we are getting news from. Hey, wait, I'm missing one. It's not right here. Because I think there was one before that. Sorry. Accessing. Yep, here we go. That was the one that I missed. Oh shit. Really?
I didn't do it.
Oh no, you didn't do it. Hold on for a second. What the hell? Sorry, folks. Thank you.
I'm not sure what the delay is, so
because for some strange reason I had the same article in 2 different in 2 different
links. I got you.
Links, yeah, and that's not cool. So anyway, Marvel Games had their panel today, and they ran over upcoming games and near future coming games that they are doing, one of which being Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which comes out actually tomorrow at the time of this recording, actually probably in a couple of hours. Usually those unlock about 3 o'clock a.m. EST, depending on what service you're getting them on. And we're recording this on a Thursday night, so this is this will be out on the 19th. And like I said, there's more details on gameplay and stuff because of what's coming out. Expansion passes, which is coming out later this year. And the expansion plan is going to be $20, and the players get access to 3 exclusive DLC packs as they release, which won't be available for individual purchase, and will include story content and playable characters from the franchises like Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Marvel Knights. The first DLC pack is due to arrive this fall, where we see the addition of Moon Knight, Blade, the Punisher, and from seemingly out of nowhere, Morbius, the living vampire, which someone that I follow on Twitter was like, wow, that came from nowhere. And I'm sitting here like, they were trying to get a movie off the ground with him, so I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. It still kind of came out of, whatever. But also, there's 2 new playable characters, Cyclops and Colossus, will arrive as part of a free update to the game on August 30th, which is around Dragon Con / whatever the big comic convention or convention is going to be around that time that I can't remember. Anyway, with alternate outfits for all playable characters in the game, rolling through early 2020. Now, I will say this: Cyclops and Colossus was in definitely the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance playable from the jump. Let's put that out there. I can't remember if they were. I think they were playable in 2 at some point because you had to choose, because it was Civil War and you had to choose a side. But I'm not sure. I can't remember if they were in that one or not. But my point being, they were in the first one off the rip. Why are they DCLC now? Side the point, whatever it is, what it is. But so that came out during that part of the panel. And next up, I'm just going to go ahead and do these next couple. Okay. I was
about to say, I'm going to look to see if there's anything else I want to pre-order.
Okay, well, fine. While you do that, I'll go over this for the rest of the panel. Marvel Games Hall H panel showcases how Marvel's Iron Man VR nails flying. So we've talked about the Iron Man VR game which was announced at this year's E3. And as the name denotes, it's an Iron Man VR game, which obviously you're going to be doing Iron Man things. It's probably not far off from those 2 Spider-Man VR experiences, I guess, that have been out previously. I didn't know they did one for Far From Home, but they did. This is being done by Camouflage, which is amusing to me. Camouflage is a developer that basically kind of, at least as far as
I heard that Sabotage, by the way.
Nice.
I was like, "What? I can't stand it."
Okay. Star Trek Into Darkness. But anyway, Camouflage is doing the development on it, which is a development house. This is way too inside basement. Came out. The director is an old Kojima Productions worker under Kojima. So this is kind of interesting. And the last thing they did was not VR, so I guess they must be leaning into it a little bit more. But anyway, there's a couple of videos where the director is talking about some of the stuff in the game and some artists. The second one is like this is Adi Gredov is doing some art for the game. I believe that's the case. Yes, Adi Granov designed Iron Man's Impulse armor in another video. So if you want to check those out, that link is there in the show notes. And the last one out of that panel is everything we learned about the new Avengers game at Marvel Games Comic-Con panel. So we talked about this is another game that came out, officially announced during E3 this year. And for myself, and I'm sure there were others who were breathlessly anticipating to see what this game was going to be. And we got our first look at E3, and there was in this panel more gameplay footage of said game, and also a couple of little treats in the guise of apparently there was some narration around the young girl who talks about meeting her heroes. That girl may or may not be one briefly seen in the footage who was seen running around looking for her Ami and Abu and wearing a Captain Marvel shirt.
Okay.
So yes, folks, apparently it is hinted that Kamala Khan is maybe poised to be centered around this game and may have some direct impact on this game. And I believe they also said that Captain Marvel in tow was also into that during the course of this gameplay, but I can't remember if that was, well, obviously, you know, if Kamala's running around and she has a Captain Marvel shirt, then that would stand to reason before that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And it kind of sounds like going back to the Spider-Man game, they kind of did something like that with Miles, except he wasn't doing narration. They basically, like, you, well, it's not spoiling it because the game's kind of old, it's starting to get old at this point, but you see Miles's dad, who, you know, is a police officer, and I think you do see Miles like early on in a crowd shot or something, and you may or may not know it's him, but you find out later on, like I said, due to meeting Miles's dad, and I think some interaction with Miles himself, that, you know, he's around in that universe. So it may be something similar to that, but except for Kamala maybe possibly narrating and may end up getting into the fray at some point during the story. So like I said, still looking. There is no video of the panel itself, and I'm sad about that, but I don't know if they're going to release that sometime soon because I really want to see that. But that is it for that panel, and we can go on to the next story, which is
the one I should get.
This is definitely
this is so awesome.
I thought about you when I saw this article, so I'm glad it worked out that you got it.
Right. Well, the only reason why I said I should get it is I literally just ordered one of these figures just now. Like, while Roddykat was doing a story, I literally ran to grab my wallet to make an order. So Hasbro has recreated classic Marvel comic covers with toys, specifically, some of them specifically from the 80th anniversary release of Marvel Legends. So one of them isn't that great a cover, but it's a great figure. The cover is Captain America number 700. It's one of the variant covers.
Yeah.
And it's just not that good a cover, but the figure is beautiful. Yes. One of the best renditions of Captain America out there. I just ordered mine.
Although I don't know if that's a product of the picture or not, but right there by his right arm, looks like there's an imperfection there or something, or am I just tripping?
A gap, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway.
Right. It might just be a shadow from the gap because of the way
it doesn't look like a shadow, but it might be
the figure is molded. No, I mean it's a shadow from the gap, that is. But I see what you mean by the imperfection. Yeah. But I think that's just part of the articulation, unfortunately, the angle that they have to position the figure at.
Maybe
to create that image. Pieces
chipped off and they just went with it. But regardless,
right.
It's still a beautiful looking figure, regardless.
Right. Just ordered mine. It's on it's ready for pre-order now at stupid Walmart. I just went online and did mine. Also for pre-order, but for wide release, you can get it at Amazon. Are Iron Man. They recreated Iron Man number 126.
I would really like that figure.
You can pre-order it at Amazon. I was just about to do it.
No, I can't because I'm on a budget. So
I was about to say that's something that you can mention to someone who wants to order it for you. It's as easy as going on Amazon and pre-ordering that, as well as Thor 137. Now, Thor 137 is a little harder. This is the first appearance of Ulick, and the Ulick figure was a San Diego exclusive that came out in that Thor multi-pack that I was lucky enough to get, that at Matt Wang 97 helped me get a couple of years back. And there's a new Thor figure, which I think is like the epitome. It's the essential Thor, the classic Thor figure from Marvel Legends as well. So that's ready for pre-order tonight. And they actually have whatchamacallit, they actually have another cover that they did. It's not part of this article, but it's the Jim Lee X-Men #1 cover. There's other stories out there that have Hasbro recreating all those covers because it's not all of the 80th anniversary figures. It's only one of them. There's a new Colossus that's coming out,
right?
And that's part of the recreation of the cover. But
might have saw that and skipped it for some reason.
Right, but the point is that there's another image out there of X-Men #1 with recreated with Marvel Legends that have come out over the last year or two because Hasbro finally started putting out X-Men Marvel Legends in earnest. It was probably, and no joke, it was probably because the Fox deal was getting ready to go through.
Right. So, yeah, there you go, folks. But that's not all for the toy news. In fact, we'll get back to another Marvel one in a minute. But Solo's surprising Darth Maul cameo gets an unsurprisingly great action figure. So, yeah, there's going to be a Solo, a Star Wars era Darth Maul with robotic legs that is going to go on sale. That part's still kind of weirded me out. But anyway, and you see him with this, as you can see here, it's him, got the seat, got the robot legs, interchangeable hands, the dual-bladed lightsaber, etc., etc., etc. It is $230, but Hot Toys issued figures are not cheap most of the time. And it doesn't come out till the end of 2020. So, Star Wars fans, do your thing whenever that time comes. Next.
Tony Stark Hot Toys figure captures Iron Man's defining Endgame moment. So I still won't spoil it, but yeah, he has a defining moment in Endgame. And yeah, Hot Toys is coming out with their supreme likeness versions of these figures, and get ready to shell out some dough to get them.
You unashamedly say, if you're watching the video, you already see with the figure in question.
Right.
At this point, I'm not caring.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good, like, the Hot Toys, say what you want about the price, but you know, Hot Toys.
Right, it's hard to argue with that though, with the quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fairly easy argument, but yes, you're right. Because yes, they put a whole lot of quality in them, and it kind of justified the price that they put for what they put in. That's what you're saying. I know.
That's my point. Yeah.
But for those of us who are on a on a budget, that's a little bit a tall order. And speaking of tall orders, which, man, that was a great segue. I'm kind of
this was crazy.
I kind of want so before I even go into this, I think we talked about last week. There was a Optimus Prime Transformer that is $150, but it is in the colors of the X-01. Right. With a Slimer, with a roller, and all that kind of good mess. It's still a lot of money. This one, folks, stare in awe and wonder at this gigantic $575 Transformers Unicron figure. $575. Mind you, Unicron
is huge.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, it is a whopping 2 foot tall piece of joint right here, and as you can see here, is on a stand in its transformed state. And yes, Unicron from the 1986 movie where he ate up anything and people died until all were one. And it is worth noting that while the price is $575, I believe this is coming from their crowdfunding platform. Yes, HasLab, their crowdfunding platform. So I guess if it makes whatever crowdfunding thing, they'll make
it. Will
probably.
It will. There are people out there with that disposable income that are like, you know what? That's what I need to complete.
Wait, are you saying people with more sense than money? I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, more money.
With less sense than money, right?
Yes. So I agree. And if one of them wanted to adopt me, I would take their money gladly. But anyway, so it is a great figure. Like, say what you will about the coloring. And this is not the first Unicron figure, but I believe this is the first one of this size.
It's the first. I was about to say this is the first Transformers figure of that size. Period. That's bigger than Omega Supreme.
Yes. That's basically what I'm saying. But yeah, that is definitely the bigger of the one yet. Which obviously it's a freaking planet size Transformer. So what would you expect? Regardless, that's a thing. It's probably gonna make whatever it's trying to do. Hold on, let's click this link real quick. See what's
nuts. So nuts.
Okay, no, that's just one of their articles. But regardless, you can look up their platform and probably find the listing. And so the deadline for so here we go. $575. Hasbro has a target minimum goal of 8,000 backers before Unicron will go officially into production, with a deadline of August 31st, 2019, for the required number of supporters to get on board. So, and even if it does make it, you're gonna have to wait a little longer to get it, because they won't ship until 2021 at the earliest.
Yeah, they still gotta make them.
Yeah, right. And so yeah, so that part is understood, and still, that's wow, it's a lot.
It's a big toy. All right, next up, McFarlane Toys showed off new collectibles from Fortnite, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, My Hero Academia, Naruto, and more. So if you thought that Hasbro made all the toys, you were dead wrong.
Oh no, there's bunches and Hot Toys and bunches of other places. But yeah, actually we talked about McFarlane last week. I feel like we did. We brought them up. Are you okay? Anyway, so yeah, so this is basically some more stuff that is being shown off during San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. Are you watching My Hero, or have you gotten it?
I haven't gotten it yet. I haven't
running through some anime.
Yeah, I was about to say, since I finished Ava, I have not decided on going through an entire run. I've been trying to figure out where to start with Gundam, but there's so much to choose from. I may skip to something else, so we'll see.
Yeah, you might want to come back to it, because there's a couple of different. We can talk about that later. But there's a couple of places that you can jump on, because none of them have anything to do with the other stuff. I think we feel like we've had that conversation before, anyway.
Right.
I'm just gonna put it out there. Full Metal Alchemist, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, but anyway, that's another conversation for another time. So yeah, that's what's McFarlane's up to. I actually haven't really watched. I think I watched like an episode of My Hero, so I'm not totally on that whenever. But there's another article saying that the coolest San Diego Comic Con's exclusive they're most excited from Gizmodo. There's some Power Rangers pins. There's that Star Wars retro prototype of Darth Vader that we talked about previously. There's that Transformer Prime that we just mentioned. And there's some other stuff that hey, how you? Some other stuff. Ooh, that Megatron. I didn't see this one. Is this the Japanese version? It can't be, because that's not what the Japanese version's name is. Super Cyborg Megatron. So there's a bunch of stuff like Funko and from Mattel. Oh wait, there's a She-Ra. Of course there is. And some other stuff that Gizmodo went through, and I thought it was a collar. I'm gonna say, wait a minute. Oh, it is a collar, but not the kind of collar I was thinking of. Anyway, it's a bunch of stuff during that article that they found and were interested in, some of which we have talked about previously. Next up,
Dynamite Entertainment announces celebratory panels. Okay, good for you, Dynamite Entertainment.
Yeah, so this is basically like we ran through a few of people's panel listings last week, and Dynamite. This is Dynamite, so I don't think we got to then.
Okay.
And I guess, hey, guess what? It's going on right now, or some of it's going on. Yeah. Actually, yeah, the first day is done, so I'm just sitting here waiting for Marvel Ultimate Alliance to open up. Anyway, Comixology Originals announces new seasons for creator-owned titles such as Delver and Stone Star. Delver is the Iron Comics imprint written by Spike Trotman, go shout her, and MK Reed with art with Clive Hawken. And Stone Star is Jim Zub's book with Max Dunbar. Both are creator owned, as previously said, and they're Comixology originals, which obviously you will not see in any kind of listings. Because I don't think, Comixology originals don't come up on Diamond, do they? I doubt it. Because I know they don't come up on comics list, but regardless. So sometimes it's worth taking a look at this because there's actually some pretty decent stuff, even from Marvel, that has come out of there.
Right.
Next, glad you got this one.
Yeah, I was about to say Diamond only shows what's shipping to stores. So
Right. So that's,
Rob Liefeld is reporting for duty with
I thought it was Liefeld.
Liefeld, tomato.
Yeah.
Reports for duty with G.I. Joe.
I mean, let's realistically, Snake Eyes is probably the perfect character for him because it's a very 90s era character, quote unquote, even though Snake Eyes has been around well before the 90s. But he's got pouches,
They're in the military, most of them had pouches.
Well, this is true, but what I'm saying, let's put it this way. If there was a military closeness to Deadpool, he's Snake Eyes. And that is definitely insulting to Snake Eyes, and I very much apologize.
Right.
But I'm just saying. But regardless, Snake Eyes Dead Game coming in early 2020.
God, he even called it Dead Game? Oh my God.
2020 will mark Liefeld's first G.I. Joe story. According to this, 2 words, bucket list, says Liefeld, who cares? 1 more word, icon. That's he sounds like that's who would sound like that. Anyway, Snake Eyes is Wolverine, Deadpool, of course he would say that, and Spider-Man rolled into one amazing character for an entire generation of fans that thrilled to his adventures in comics and cartoons and hung on his every toy release. My parents drove me all over the country to get his G.I. Joe action figures of skin. Sure did. They were my first and most favorite toys. Working with Hasbro and all of my friends at IDW has been a blast so far. I can't wait to get this work out into the public. If you've enjoyed my recent Marvel work, this will match or exceed it. Well,
okay.
Sometimes you can only go up from the bottom. Anyway, I shouldn't say that because I haven't been reading that book, so I don't fucking know. Next up, IDW returns to the Star Trek mirror. I forgot to send this over the thing, but Dirk's probably already seen us. Who knows? IDW returns to Star Trek Mirror Universe and sends Voyager there for the first time. So yes, another in a long line of a starting to get long line of Star Trek miniseries to come in the recent history, especially dealing with the Mirror Universe. This is the next iteration of that, which I think this is the only other series. Well, they still haven't done Enterprise. Well, no, because Enterprise did go there during the course of its run on air, and Discovery has too. So yeah, I think this is the only other Star Trek series that has not ventured into the Mirror Universe in any way, shape, or form. And now they're going to get a one-shot in the form of Smoke and Mirrors, which puts the crew of the USS Voyager in their Mirror Universe forums, I should say. Written by Paula Lohr, with painted art by Star Trek fan favorite J.K. Woodard, and he's the one who's been doing the art for the Mirror Universe stuff. And yeah, so basically, this introduced, like I said, this is basically Voyager version of the Mirror Universe crew. And spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, but hey, sounds like this is first, second season Voyager. But they are going to have another side project with the stuff that is already going on with the Mirror Universe in the form of a Terran calling herself Anika Hansen. If you're a Star Trek Voyager fan, you know that name.
Okay, and I'm sitting here like this.
It's 7 of 9. It's, yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I'm like, what? Who?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the thing. I'm actually slightly looking forward to this because I have been liking the Mirror Universe stuff that they've been doing with those. Some are better than others, especially that first one was great. So some of these other ones have been kind of like, really? What's going on? Why? But they're going to do this and they're going to milk it. So it is what it is. Next up,
Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are going to meet for the first time in a Boom event series. So they're going to share comic pages for the first time ever in a 5-issue series starting in December. Okay.
So I said this on Twitter. Like, Power Rangers have crossed over with the Justice League. The Turtles have crossed over with Batman 3 times.
Yep.
It's only a matter of time to where this was going to happen, 1. And 2, the Turtles will probably join in the Justice League.
At some point, that intellectual property may be subject to purchase.
Yeah.
Or
at the very least, there's either going to be a crossover of that, a crossover between them and He-Man, or either one of these properties and He-Man, because that's the only other property. Because that's the other property that has been doing a good bit of. Well, they haven't done a lot of crossovers, but they've done a couple. And Ghostbusters, who's done a few different crossovers. So at some point, and I think there was a Ghostbusters Teenage Mutant Turtles one. So half of that has already been done. So it's just a matter of the Rangers meet the Ghostbusters or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing coming on. I'm probably going to check it out because I'm stupid. Next up, The Magician's Lev Grossman manifests details on his new graphic novel, Alice's Story. So if you did not know, The Magicians, which is on Sci-Fi, was adapted from Lev Grossman's stories. It's basically Hogwarts if Hogwarts was like more of a college and there was a lot of sex. That's a kind of a short-term winner, but whatever, still works. That actually, first couple of seasons are pretty good if you haven't, and if you like magic, because I know there are some people on the panel that doesn't really like magic stuff. But it's a good show. I haven't read any of the books, but now there's going to be a card. Actually, I want to say this is out already. Matter of fact, yes. It came out this week. From Boom Studios will premiere this 208-page offering on July 16th, which again, like I said, it's already passed. And it deals with Alice Quinn, which is one of the main figures of the Magician. So, if you are a fan of the Magicians and or Alice in said universe, go for it. Next up.
Alrighty. New graphic novel Adora in the Distance is a heroic fantasy about living with autism. So
yeah, so apparently Mark Bernardine, who is the writer of this, has a daughter with autism, and this.
It's Mark Bernardin. This is the guy on Fat Man.
Mark Bernardin. Is that not what I said?
No, Mark Bernardine said.
Oh. Okay, well, I didn't know how it was pronounced, so my apologies.
Yeah, no, only because I hear him all the time on Fat Man Beyond. Mark.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, I've seen the name, but I don't think I've never heard it being pronounced, so that's my apologies. But yeah, so apparently his daughter has autism, and this book was based off of her and that. According to what it says here, there are millions of parents of kids. Actually, I know someone like that, and my mother was a special ed teacher, so I have had some experience somewhat in dealing with folks such as that. But anyway, there are millions of parents of kids on the autism spectrum, and there are millions of children with siblings on the spectrum. Bernardin says in a statement, "This isn't a book on how hard it is to be a parent or sibling. It is one that imagines the unknowable, what's going on inside the mind of a loved one who has never been able to tell us." So, Adora in the Distance is illustrated by Ariella Cristantina, colored by Jessica Colleen, and lettered by Bernardo Bryce. So, and it's out on. It will be out on Comixology Originals this winter. Just like I said, sometimes you might want to check that if you're interested, because there are some interesting things that'll come out there unnoticed. So, there you go. Next up, Stranger Things. Greg Pak, Valeria Favaccia to helm Zombie Boys graphic novel. So yeah, so Dark Horse is announced a new Stranger Things graphic novel. The comic titled Zombie Boys will be written by, like I said, the creative team I just mentioned. Like the previous Stranger Things comic published by Dark Horse, the graphic novel will be a standalone tale set in the world of the TV series. The story will be set after the first season of the show and will depict the main characters trying to adjust to normal school life after encountering the Demogorgon and the Upside Down. I heard those names, but I'm not sure. So if you're a fan of that show, hey, go for it. Next.
Yeah. Alan Moore announced his retirement from comics. It was 3 years ago. And the only reason why it's out there now is that one of the terms of his retirement was that he would retire from comics after the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen finished. And that essentially is what just happened. The final comic book work, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Volume 4, The Tempest number 6, with longtime collaborator Kevin O'Neill, arrived in comic book stores this week on Wednesday. So that's why it's now official.
Right. And speaking of Alan Moore, he looks like Rasputin. But, you know, it is what it is. But in more Alan Moore news, which is also coming out around, at a similar time, legendary creator Alan Moore takes a parting shot at Comicsgate. So apparently, somebody, I don't know if it was on Twitter or not, but somebody wrote Alan Moore a letter, and I won't go through the whole letter, asking him why is he leaving the comics business. And you know, like I said, you can if you can check the link will be in the show notes, but his response was just and amusing. It was, I would dare say, as an Alan Moore as a response, but you know, it is what it is. So we'll just leave it at that. But
okay,
screw Comicsgate and anybody who supports them. Period.
Screw Comicsgate. All right. Next up.
And hopefully we don't know anyone that is supporting them on. Next up,
Comicsgate.
Exactly.
So shout out to Matt Wang 97, who's at San Diego. Specifically, he's there. He's going to be there, and he was probably there to hear about this announcement from Hasbro, where Magic the Gathering has announced a new card set for 2019. The Hasbro Media Breakfast event unveiled the Throne of Eldraine card set with a pre-release date of September 28th or 29th of 2019.
Shout out to also BDM, who has been on the show before, who's also a friend of Matt Wayne's and also an avid Magic player.
Yes.
Who I know, because there was some back and forth. I know you've seen the chatter for another set that is coming out that Matt's going to get for him. I kind of wanted that set either, but I'm not that big into it, and it costs too much.
Gotcha.
But this is so this is another expansion that is coming out soon, and there's been rumblings of coming out. I mean, there's been rumblings coming out about this for at least the last month or two. Like there's usually like 4 or 5 different releases per year for Magic. You know, like Quartz when it just came out. I'm not going to get hardcore into that, but there's usually a couple of different things coming out, and there was a pre-release thing called there was a thing called Archery, which is what this turns out to be, the Throne of Eldraine, being a new card set. And yeah, so more money for people who are into that. Like, I love the game, but that's a lot of money, especially physically. However, Magic Arena is out and it's free, but it's probably, I don't know if this is, I'm not sure where this is going to fall, because I know Core 20 just came out in Magic 20, and I know there's been some Commander stuff that's been out that just came out also. And I don't know if what format this is going to mostly be done, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more information in the coming weeks, specifically July 20th at the panel that's going to be there. And I hope Matt tweets about this, or I'm sure there'll be some news about it, but you know, and I know the other Magic sources will have their hands on it, but you know, here's hoping. But regardless, there's a pre-release date of September 28th, 29th for this new set, and we'll have more on it. As well, we probably won't, but because I know this is not necessarily a Magic focused podcast, but you know, there is a ties to comic books because there are.
You'll hear more about it eventually.
At some point, you know, whether some places. I was torn with this next one, but I'll let you do it because it almost didn't make the cut.
Okay. WWE superstar Ember Moon is going to play Dungeons and Dragons at Gen Con. So, is it Gen Con?
I believe it's Gen Con, yes. That doesn't really matter, but still.
Yeah, so it's going to they're going to participate in a live stream Dungeons and Dragons session hosted by tabletop miniature terrain maker Dwarven Forge.
So yeah, apparently she's
that's pretty cool. She's an avid player.
Apparently, and she's been playing with Up Down Down's rollout D&D campaign, which I did not know they did one. But then again, I don't follow that many wrestlers. I know of Xavier Woods from his other like video game dealings, also and the fact that he's a wrestler or whatnot. I'm not going to hold that against either one of them. But regardless, that's going to be the thing that is happening, and it's going to happen at Gen Con on August 3rd, because that's usually when Gen Con. I kind of want to go to Gen Con actually. So that's a big Gen Con is a big, if I'm not mistaken, big board game convention that happens in Chicago somewhere. I can't remember where it is. That I see a lot of people on my timeline talk about when they go. Kind of want to go one day, even though I don't have any friends to play that kind of stuff. Anyway. But this is going to play out. The session will show off Dwarven Forge's fantastic hellscape terrain, and will play out in front of a live studio audience, as they used to say. Joining Moon will be voice actress Erika Ishii and Satine Phoenix, both of Geek and Sundry fame, also, and Dwarven Forge founder Stephen Parkerini, and be DM'd by Dwarven Forge Chief Creative Officer Nate Taylor. So that'll be a good time. It'll be cool.
What's funny, real quick, is that Dwarven Forge stuff, the terrain stuff, that's the stuff
not
that
cheap.
You dreamed about when you were a kid, but now you need a lot of money to afford. You know what? I know people that use it, and God bless them. God bless them. God bless them that they can use that stuff. Good for them.
Yeah, which reminds me of something I was going to ask you about. I don't know if it's happened. I think you know what I'm referring to. If that's happened, but that'll be after the show.
Okay.
Hey, folks, guess what's coming back? Which we've already talked about previously, and I still can't believe it. Toys R Us is coming back to the U.S. for the holiday season. The bubble, according to the byline here or tagline here, the Bubble retail brand is back, kinda. Which again, we've talked about this before. But we've got a little bit more details on it, and apparently they're going to be setting up shop by the holidays over the course of 2020, and there's going to be a slight shift in how the store is going to play out. According to this, the new stores will be designed to be highly interactive with daily events and activities. There will be displays displaying toys out of the box to allow kids to play with them, and demoing games that embrace STEAM. I think that's supposed to be STEM.
Okay.
And that was a typo, because Steam is the video game platform where people can buy stuff. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and art and math. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe education, but I'm pretty sure it's STEM. Regardless, and probably most important to some people, the brand's mascot, Jeffrey Giraffe, will also be present and featured in an open play stage, quote unquote. So, yeah, rebranding and grand opening, maybe another grand closing, I don't know.
Oh, no.
Coming soonish to an area somewhere possibly near you.
I mean,
but like it never left.
It's the weirdest thing.
It is
the weirdest thing. It's, why go away? But at the same time, you had to figure, I guess that big box retailer thing they had going on was unsustainable, but
Sure.
You know.
Oh, yeah. Before you go any further, the new stores, which would be smaller than the retail giants form of the big box, speaking of what you just mentioned, but the locations will be located in Westfield, Garden State Plaza in Paramus, New Jersey, and the Galleria in Houston. So if you ever go over to Paramus, you'll take some pictures.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Jersey. I got to drive over there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So apparently those are the only two that's going to be for the time being, I guess. I don't know. That's weird.
I mean, what it is that they put them in. Yeah, they put them in the
Why fucking Jersey though?
Well, the thing is, the rent 1 and 2. That's the easiest way to get people to get there from the surrounding area.
I suppose. Yeah, but in the Galleria in Houston, like, why not the Galleria in Philly? Never mind. I guess I can answer that question myself. I don't know. So yeah, so there you go. It's if you're near either one of those two places when it opens up, go forward. Next,
last but not least, Midboss has partnered with IDW Publishing to expand the read-only Memories universe with an all-new comic book series, 2064 Read-Only Memories, set to begin releasing in monthly installments starting December of 2019, this year. So limited run.
Remember, yeah. So basically, it's a video series that are making a comic book store. And I've heard people like the series. I've never played it, or not series. I believe it's only one game. But yeah, there's going to be a comic book tie-in into the world, and yeah, I'm apologize for stepping over you, but there's going to be a limited run physical Switch release of said game in Q4 of this year. Limited run kind of does like it's almost like Loot Crate, but specified with certain video games, and not necessarily a subscription thing. But they basically put like they do a version of the game in limited run, and they make a box with other stuff surrounding the game in it, kind of Loot Crate style. So it's neat, but you know. So anyway, so that's the thing. Apparently, Sina Grace is going to be the writer on it of Iceman fame, and Stefano Simone, who is doing the art for it. So sure, go check that out. And it's called we don't remember. Oh no, that's a different game. Never mind. So yeah. And that is it, folks, for the news. And therein lies the end of the show. But first,
our last ad read of the night. Our last ad read of the night is for audible.com, a free 30-day trial. So for you, the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I would actually recommend that you read Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Becoming by First Lady Michelle Obama, or The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea by Chris Jericho. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Comic Book Chronicles. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Comic Book Chronicles for your free audiobook.
cool. I was going to ask you if those were your picks, or was that what
one of them?
This? Yeah, but
one of them. I've read Between the World and Me, but I have the audiobook for Becoming, and I'm listening to it because the First Lady is reading it, so it's actually interesting to have her read it to me.
Oh yeah, I would check it out. Wait, that sounded bad. But anyway,
yeah, I would say I'm like, whoa, dude.
I have extra heard good things about that book. And because I think I was going to get a copy for my wife, and I did not do that because I wasn't sure she was going to read it. But well, she probably would if she knew she did. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. We're here at the end of the show, folks.
Yes.
As we do every week, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out and being a part of this, whether you did it live or, hear this after the fact. I will go ahead and tell you there will probably be more San Diego Comic-Con news next week.
Yes. Yeah, so we will be recapping basically the rest of San Diego Comic-Con news next week. There's going to be a lot more to come.
Yes.
Look forward to our discussions on it.
Exactly, because today was the first day. And, of course, Hickman's, I think, House of X starts next week.
Oh, yeah.
One of them. So we will probably have a good bit to say about that.
Yeah, lots to look forward to. Remember, get out there, watch Avengers Endgame again, because down with Avatar, I'm petty.
Oh, Jesus. So, yes. So that being the case, I have been Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter, at CB Caps on Instagram, and News Nerds Needs Reddit. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. Maybe one of these days he'll have a blog post or a video series. He'll start his own YouTube channel. I don't know. We don't know what that guy's gonna do. PCN_dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and there's umbrella sites therein. And the Osiris Ish Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Caps. Oh, excuse me, that's not CB Caps, CB Cron on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter. That's DKLIQNATION, and theclicknation.com also, which we should really start putting some stuff up there. I need to talk to him about that. Anyway, and also Comic Book Resources, where he is writing his face off, including now in the throes of San Diego Comic-Con. Go check out his stuff. Click on his things. On his news articles, I should say, not his things, because that's invasion of privacy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go get him some clicks. He's writing some great stuff over there, including that magic story that I did not think he would ever do. Magic the Gathering, rather. So yeah, like I said, go check out his stuff. You can find this show on CSPN Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And also, you can find us and subscribe to us at Google Play and Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. And until next week.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all good. And until next week, we shall see you same bat time, same bat channel, right here on YouTube's or in the audio in your ears in audio form. However you choose to get us into your ears, we shall be here for you. And with that, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?